28 people on time. I'm impressed.
I am too.
People on time. She's impressed.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to our June board meeting. I see we have quite a bit of people on. That is great. We're going to wait for a few more to come on, and we will bring the meeting to order shortly.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where am I? Oh, I'm in here.
And I just want to remind everyone to stay muted until it's time for you to speak and you're called on. Thank you. I'm just going to ask if the district office can check the roll call and see where we are in terms of a quorum, please.
Madam Chair, are you asking for me to call roll or just
Yes, please.
look at the names? Okay.
You can just get us, you just count the names and just look and be sure. You don't have to go through it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My eyes might be deceiving me since the participants list keeps jumping, but it does appear as though we have a quorum. I counted 27 so far.
Great. Okay. So we'll call the meeting to order now at 6:18. Welcome again to our June full board meeting. Thank you for your participation. We had to switch really quickly because of the poor air quality that had been. We had a press conference with the mayor and as well as the governor. So this is to be safe. And although it's funny, I'm looking out the window. At this time, it was either a dark cloud, it was orange. And although it's clear, the air is still not where it should be. It's still dangerous. So I'm glad that we were all together here virtually. So I'm going to ask Ms. Neal if she can do the roll call, please. Thank you.
Akuya Adu,
Present.
Sharon Alexis Pierre,
Present.
Linda Andrews,
Present.
Lisa Atkinson,
Present.
Princess Ben James,
Present.
Julia Boyd, Marva Brown Henry.
Present.
Um, there's feedback somewhere. Someone needs to be muted. Is that me? Okay, let's try this again. Marva Brown Henry,
Present.
Jock Brunville, Robert Callahan,
Here.
Edward Delman,
Present.
Diane Duke, Andrea Ferris,
Present.
Michael Francoeur, Drew Gabriel, Tamika Gibbs, Najani Granville,
Present.
Colin Jakubczyk,
Here.
Christopher Leon Johnson, Zerzima Jordan,
Here.
Francis Langley,
Here.
Robert Lapointe, Dr. Sarah Lazar,
Here.
Lisa Maldonado,
Present.
David Mantell,
Here.
Kwasi Menza, Mimi Mitchell, Gail Muhammad,
Here.
Fia Ortiz Joyner,
Present.
Brianna Peppers, Terea thank you, Ms. Peppers. Terea Petway,
Present.
Dr. Khadiza Ramarak, Yaya Raji,
Here.
Anika Roach, Connor Ross,
Present.
Brian Saunders,
Present.
Meredith Staten, Nicole Tatro,
Here.
Mark Thurton,
Here.
Samori Torre, Ethel Tyus,
Present.
Gib Vaconi,
Present.
Kimberly Watson, Irsa Weatherspoon,
Present.
Sharon Wedderburn, Robert Witherwax,
Present.
Deborah Young.
Present.
Okay, there are
Mr.
several-
Staten is also present.
Drew
Thank you,
Gabriel,
Mr.
present.
George.
Tamika Gibbs, present.
Okay, let me just go back through. Tamika Gibbs, present. Drew Gabriel, present. I saw Mr. Staten's name. I also saw Kim Watson's name, but I didn't hear her. We do have a quorum. We are at 33 members present.
Thank you, Ms. Neal. Okay, I want to bring up what's next on the agenda, the City of Yes, our carbon neutrality presentation. A month ago, New York City Department of Planning had given us, or they sent forth a presentation deck. And with it should have been comments and feedback. This is what they were requesting. And this proposal is very important because it's going to really impact in a far-reaching way the residents of New York City. So we are taking comments this evening, and we will also be receiving them at the office until Friday, next Friday, the 16th. And just for everybody who does not know the email address, it is Brooklyn cb8@gmail.com. Do we have any comments that we can take now? And you would be recognized by your hands raised.
Ms. Witherspoon, hi, this is Jordan Fraud from the Department of City Planning. We have a presentation that we are ready to give if you'd like us to do that first, and then we're happy to answer questions and take comments.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm gonna share my, people can hear me? Okay. I'm gonna share my screen. Right. Can people see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Give me just a minute to get my notes set up. All right. Well, thank you very much for having us this evening. My name is Jordan Fraud, and I'm a senior borough planner at the Department of City Planning's Brooklyn office and the liaison to Community Board 9. I'm joined by my colleague, Jonah Rogoff, who's a team leader in the Brooklyn office. And we will be sharing an overview of the City of Yes for Carbon Neutrality, a proposal to update the zoning resolution to help meet New York City's climate goals. City of Yes for Carbon Neutrality is the first of 3 projects that the Department of City Planning is developing as part of Mayor Adams' broader City of Yes initiative, charging agencies to take a hard look at outdated regulations holding New Yorkers back from investing in their homes, businesses, and our city overall. 2 other initiatives, Economic Opportunity and Housing Opportunity, will begin more public engagement later this summer. Those are distinct and independent proposals. Many of the elements of this proposal on carbon neutrality are urgently needed, delivering zoning relief to homeowners and building owners who are trying to undertake smart retrofit projects to cut their energy costs and help the environment, but are prevented from doing so by certain aspects of the current zoning code. First, I want to take a minute to frame the conversation and explain why we're talking about carbon in particular. We are facing a climate emergency, and it is largely fueled by global carbon dioxide emissions. 80% of all greenhouse gas emissions in the United States are carbon dioxide emissions, and carbon dioxide generally comes from human activity, in particular the combustion of fossil fuels like diesel, gasoline, natural gas, and home heating oil. In 2016, the world community came together to sign the Paris Agreement, a vision to curtail human greenhouse gas emissions in order to limit overall global warming to 2 degrees Celsius and thus prevent further environmental damage. Here in New York City, we have been implementing this vision through a number of initiatives under the umbrella of achieving carbon neutrality by reducing the city's carbon emissions by 80% by the year 2050. So if you hear me or anyone else refer to 80 by 50, that's shorthand for reducing the city's carbon emissions 80% by 2050. That's the big sort of top line goal. So what do we mean by a carbon neutral city? It's a city in which we, first of all, have reduced our energy needs. This means making sure that buildings and vehicles and all of us use less energy than we used to. And in order to do this, we will need to retrofit almost every building in the city to become highly energy efficient and reduce wasted energy. Obviously, we're going to still have energy needs even after we reduce the amount of energy we're using. And so it means that all of our remaining energy needs will have been electrified. This includes vehicles and buildings. It means moving away from fossil fuel-fired furnaces and boilers to newer electric technologies for heating and cooling like heat pumps. And finally, it's a city where we've cleaned the grid. Electric power can be backed by renewables like wind and solar and hydro. It can also be backed by fossil fuels. And so cleaning the grid means making sure that our electricity comes from clean sources that are not powered by fossil fuels. As you can see in this chart, the key driver of our city's carbon emissions by far is the building sector. And there's a big relationship between our buildings and the zoning laws that govern them. This proposal was sort of a long time coming, and we've been building a foundation for it for some time. Sorry about that. Someone was calling me. About 10 years ago, the Department of City Planning issued a report called Zone Green, which was the first comprehensive overhaul of our zoning to allow for rooftop wind and solar. Today's proposal, in a lot of ways, is a follow-up to that. It's a chance to revisit our older rules and update them in response to new science and technology. It's focused more on decarbonization because of the Paris Agreement and the 80 by 50 promise. We've gotten a lot of feedbacks from architects and engineers and advocates, and also a couple of regulations to keep in mind. There's a city law that was passed a few years ago called Local Law 97, which will require most large buildings to reduce their carbon emissions over time or face a fine. There's also a state level act called the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which set ambitious solar and energy storage goals for the city. Development for this proposal in particular began a little bit over a year ago when Mayor Adams announced his vision for a city of yes. Since then, we've conducted extensive outreach with stakeholders across the city to help us ensure that this proposal will be helpful to those who are trying to add solar and EV chargers or heat pumps to their homes and businesses. We have held 4 info sessions open to the public, and we've partnered with the Urban Green Council to convene a group of technical and policy experts. Along the way, we have also engaged in conversations with our partner agencies and other local stakeholders, and we've identified a number of ways to modify the zoning. So tonight, what we're going to do is review the 4 key goals that this proposal seeks to support, as well as the 17 specific changes to the zoning resolution that we've identified that can help us achieve those goals. So the first key goal is decarbonizing the city's energy grid. I'd mentioned earlier that electricity can be powered by renewable sources of energy. It can also be powered by fossil fuels. So this means making sure that our energy grid is powered by renewable sources only and not by carbon dioxide generating sources. So you can see some illustrations on this slide of initiatives that are already underway at the state and city level. The big thing to remember with decarbonizing the energy grid is that by the year 2040, New York State, not just the city, but the state, is required to achieve a 100% renewables-based energy grid. So that means developing a lot of offshore wind. It means bringing in more clean hydroelectric power from upstate and Canada. And it also means putting all of our rooftops across the city to work to generate energy. So we have 5 specific changes to the zoning code that will help us do this. First is rooftop solar. Rooftop zoning allowances can be modified to ensure that there are no limits on the amount of rooftop that can be covered by solar canopies. Right now, there are some pretty strict limits, and we would like to update those so that a roof can be completely covered by solar. Second is parking lots. Our city has more than 8,000 acres of open parking areas, and we would like to change these zoning to make sure that those parking lots can be covered by solar canopies. Next is community solar. Right now, if you want to generate clean energy for your neighborhood, you can only do it in commercial or manufacturing districts with a small handful of exceptions. This proposal would allow community solar to be installed in all zoning districts, including residential, and that includes residential campuses, hospitals, schools, and colleges to generate more solar power for the neighborhoods where it's needed. Energy storage. We want to ensure that safe storage facilities, essentially large rooftop batteries, are located where they're needed the most. Currently, energy storage is not allowed in the residence districts where customers need access the most. And so we want to update zoning to add specific rules for energy storage in partnership with the FDNY and the Department of Buildings. Finally, onshore wind. Onshore wind faces very strict limits under the current zoning code, and this proposal will create a new permit system to enable applicants to submit applications for onshore wind facilities. The next goal is to decarbonize our building stock. The city has more than 1 million buildings, and almost all of them will still be around by 2050 when we need to have achieved carbon neutrality. Buildings, as I said before, are by far the city's biggest source of carbon dioxide emissions. So that's going to mean retrofitting virtually every building in the city to retire oil or gas-powered furnaces and replace them with new efficient electric systems. Again, I want to reiterate that there are 2 laws to keep in mind.
PGA Tour in a control position.
Someone is not
Excuse me, Mr. Fraud, can you give me a moment to just?
Yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah.
And you know, as it relates to control, it's to do it in a way.
You may now unmute Mr. Fraud.
Great, thanks. Is this better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
That's
you.
much better.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. All right, so 2 laws as far as decarbonizing buildings. One of them, as I said, is Local Law 97, which applies to all buildings 25,000 square feet or larger, requires them to meet certain targets for cutting their carbon emissions. And if they don't meet those targets, they will be, fines will be applied. And then the second law is Local Law 154, which requires all newly constructed buildings to be electrified from the get-go. So no longer will fossil fuel equipment be allowed in new construction. So 4 specific provisions here that are part of the City of Yes initiative that will help us with this. Electrification retrofits. The zoning code can provide more flexibility to accommodate the increasing need for outdoor equipment like heat pumps to be located above the zoning height. So changing the zoning to allow people to retrofit their buildings for more sustainable electric equipment. Next is exterior retrofits. Zoning needs to ensure that when someone is trying to add thicker insulation or reclad their building by replacing it with a new, more efficient facade, that they don't run into zoning obstacles. So making sure that that doesn't happen. Fixing zone green. There are certain provisions in the zone green plan from about a decade ago that are out of date because of technological improvements in sustainability and building design that have been made over the last decade. So in particular relating to wall thickness. And so changing the zoning code to account for those new technological developments and making sure that building owners are not penalized by the zoning code for upgrading the sustainability and sort of energy efficiency of their buildings. You might be thinking that this will cost a lot of money. And fortunately, there are many funding sources available at all levels of government, federal, state, and city, to help out. In particular, if you own a building and are interested in doing something like this, we strongly encourage you to check out the New York City Accelerator. And the URL for that is accelerator.nyc. It's a program run out of the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. And if you're a property owner, it can help connect you with technical and financial support to make these changes. Again, if you are a building owner and you're interested in taking advantage of these programs, that's where you want to go to find out what resources are available to you. And also if you have questions about, for example, like, does local law 97 apply to your building? You can also go to that website and find out. The third goal that we want to support with this overhaul of the zoning code is decarbonizing the private vehicles that New Yorkers drive and own. There are currently 2 million private vehicles registered in New York City, and less than 1% of those are zero emission. By 2035, New York State has indicated that all new vehicles sold in the state need to be zero emission. So we need to start preparing for that now. There are federal and state initiatives to help vehicle owners make the switch to electric, but at the local level, the most that we can do to help with that is zoning. So the goal here, these proposals all will relate to decarbonizing vehicles. I think, a lot of people have asked about solutions beyond private car ownership, and we work on a regular basis with the Department of Transportation and the MTA. But these proposals in the zoning code in particular are about solutions for electric vehicles, and so that's what we're going to focus on this evening. Excuse me. First of all, we want to allow commercial charging facilities in all commercial and manufacturing districts. Currently, charging facilities for EVs are prohibited in about half of commercial districts in the city, so we want to expand where they're allowed. We also want to allow building owners to designate a portion of their existing parking spaces to be offered up to the public as shared spaces to charge electric vehicles. You might have Zipcar or some other car sharing or car rental program in a private garage, and we would like to add that, add the ability to add chargers for electric vehicles in the same way. Next, talking about public parking lots, public parking garages, and things like that. We want to allow car rental, car sharing, commercial vehicle storage, and again, public EV charging within those facilities. This is not about residential lots. This is about commercial and public parking lots throughout the city. Allow a wider variety of people to use those lots, and in particular, make sure that they're outfitted with chargers for EVs. Fourth, we have special rules that currently only apply in Manhattan around how to make parking garages more spatially efficient. We want those to be available to everyone citywide. And then finally, parking. right? If you ride your bike around, I think, this has happened to me. It's probably happened to some of you as well. You get somewhere and there's not bike parking. So we want to expand the amount of bicycle parking that's available throughout the city and allow bike parking facilities in commercial districts. I'm sorry, I think I'm having trouble. There we go. Okay. Thanks for your patience. The last goal involves reducing the city's stormwater. And can people did it just disappear?
Yes, the screen share
Okay.
disappeared.
Okay. How's that? Can you see it again?
Thank you.
Okay, great. Last goal relates to reducing the city's stormwater and solid waste and helping eliminate the carbon emissions associated with both of those waste streams. We can reduce stormwater runoff by promoting greater pavement permeability, which means less water flowing to energy-intensive treatment plants. And second, we can reduce the energy associated with hauling and processing garbage. Right now, about 45% of all waste throughout New York City could theoretically be composted instead of put in a landfill. We're not doing that right now, and we want to make it more possible to do that. And finally, we want to promote more local food production on the rooftops of the city. So one solution is permeable paving. We want to clarify the pavement rules, within the zoning code to allow water to infiltrate into the soil right where it falls. Street trees, we want to update the street tree requirements of the zoning code to allow for new types of high performance tree bed types. Compost, the zoning resolution today does not mention composting or recycling at all. And so we'd like to add specific rules to clarify where these uses are allowed and help these sectors grow. And then finally, rooftop greenhouses. Currently, rooftop greenhouses are allowed on top of non-residential buildings, but there's a pretty involved permit process in order to get permission to build them. So we want to streamline this requirement and allow the DOB to review those applications, which means that the greenhouses can be put up at lower cost and faster so that we can start growing food right here in New York City on our own rooftops. So this concludes our presentation of the 17 specific changes to the zoning code that we would like to propose that will decarbonize our city and help keep it clean, healthy, and equitable for the years to come. As far as next steps, this is a citywide zoning text amendment. This process will continue for several more months. Last month and this month, all 59 community boards in the city are reviewing this proposal at the same time. And in July, the City Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on the proposed changes. And finally, in September, taking into account everything they've heard during the review process, the City Planning Commission will vote on whether to approve or modify the proposal, and then we'll pass that along to the City Council. And the City Council will have 50 days to adopt the zoning changes and make them law. So thank you very much. This concludes our presentation, and we're happy to take questions. And in particular, we have more detailed slides on each of the 17 proposals. And so if you have some specific questions about any of these, we've got more information for you that we can show you right here and now. So please don't hesitate to ask. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jordan. I actually have a bunch of questions, but I'm going to just ask two and give people opportunity to speak. You had mentioned about 2 million vehicles on the road with 1% of them being electric, correct?
2 million private cars are registered
cars.
in New York City.
Okay. And you also mentioned zoning for older vehicles. What would that look like? Because you just made that statement. What would that look like?
Zoning
for the older vehicles, as you mentioned.
I don't think the zoning code would have anything to do with managing older vehicles. There's nothing in this proposal that would affect whether or how older vehicles can be driven. This is purely about adding more facilities to help electric vehicle owners charge their vehicles.
Okay, because you mentioned that, and that's all you said. So I was wondering what you meant specifically by that.
I might have misspoken, and if so, apologies. No, I don't think there's anything in this proposal about that would affect older vehicles.
Okay, the other question I had, I didn't hear anything about trucks. What is the plan for reducing their carbon emissions? I haven't heard anything about that. Is there a plan to also electrify them?
So I believe there are ongoing efforts to. I believe there are ongoing efforts to change like parts of the city's vehicle fleet to electric vehicles. That's not part of this proposal in particular. This proposal is only about changes to the zoning code. And so whether or not trucks are powered by gasoline or electric, that's not something that the zoning code covers. And whether or not trucks are powered by electricity or gasoline powered is just it's definitely like a city priority, but it's not in this proposal in particular.
There are many trucks on the road, but thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Mr. Gabriel to manage the questions. Do we have any questions or comments? I do see Ms. Ortiz Joyner. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have a couple of questions. When it comes to charge sharing in residential spaces, what exactly does that look like in Brownstone, Brooklyn? And can you elaborate on that? And also, energy storage, where exactly would that be? And would it be near a residence? If so, would it be harmful to people and pets? And the decarbonizing our buildings and fixing the rules for building exterior retrofits, how would that affect and how would that work with landmarked districts and historic areas?
Absolutely. All right. So the first question was about how electric vehicle charging would work in Brownstone, Brooklyn. Is that right?
Yes. How would that work? Sharing in residential spaces such as Brownstone, Brooklyn.
Right. So the provisions in this proposal are related to as far as electric vehicle sharing goes, and let me shift over to that slide for a little bit more detail. Okay. So property owners could designate up to 20% of their spaces for public electric vehicle charging. When you say Brownstone, Brooklyn,
Well, I'm saying that because we don't have garages or driveways, we park on the street. So if it's saying that in front of our homes, what exactly does that look like, and what would be our responsibility, or how would that affect us financially also?
Right. So this proposal would not apply to street parking. Street parking is not covered by any of the provisions of this text amendment. It's entirely about, this in particular is about the owners of private residential buildings with garages or the owners of private or public parking lots. Okay. But in neighborhoods where, in neighborhoods like Brownstone, Brooklyn, where people largely park on the street parking is not covered by the City of Yes text amendment in any way.
Will it be in the future, being that as I believe as of 2050, there will not be any cars that are not EVs will not be sold? How will those cars be charged and parked? So I'm just asking if there's any plans in the future to incorporate that.
I don't know. So street parking is regulated by the Department of Transportation. I don't know if there are any concrete current proposals to install EV chargers on public streets. And so I don't want to, I don't want to speak for the agency that manages that resource because, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I think a lot of people have asked that question. The honest answer is I don't know. It's not something that we're covering in this proposal.
Okay, and then the energy storage,
Yes. So
where exactly will it be located? Is it near residences? Will it be harmful to people and pets in the future?
yeah, let me pull that here. Energy storage systems. So we are talking about battery-based energy storage systems. There are actually many of them around the city already. So for example, Barclay Center has a big rooftop energy storage facility on top. And what this would do is expand the ability to build ESS2 residential areas. All rooftop battery storage facilities would have to be approved by the Department of Buildings. So there would be a pretty rigorous review process before anything gets installed. You can see on this slide, always require safety review by DOB. And for systems of more than 250 kilowatts, FDNY would be required to sign off as well. So it's not like a building owner could just put this up with no review and no permission, if that's what you're worried about. There would be a pretty rigorous testing and approval process with the other agencies that are involved here before something like that is put in.
Okay, and lastly, goal 2, which is decarbonizing our buildings, regarding the building exterior retrofits and fixing that goal. How will that affect landmark districts, historic districts, homes who are currently landmarked?
Let me look into that a little bit more and get back to you. I don't know the details of how the exterior retrofit proposal intersects with either landmark districts or landmark buildings in particular. So let me get some details on that and I can get back to you. I think Jonah's raising his hand. He might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, I could just jump in quickly. I'll just say that this is independent of LPC's review. So this wouldn't change LPC's ability to review any alterations or changes to the exterior buildings within historic districts. So the intent is not to conflict with LPC, but just to really complement their review.
Thank you.
Who's next? Drew?
Madam, I was going to say, Madam Chair, in this order is Joseph Alexis, Meredith Staten, and Robert Callahan.
Thank you. Please, Ms. Alexis.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, sir, for your presentation. I want to be as efficient as possible, and so I'll say that I don't dislike your entire plan or anything. There's a lot of stuff that I do like, but I just want to talk about the things that concern me. We've already touched on power stations in residential neighborhoods. I know they exist in big buildings and some large owners agree to have them around, but I am concerned at the possible dangers of large energy storage being in residential areas or just on rooftops where fires can happen. So that's my first concern, and I don't know much about that. My second concern, however, has to do with retrofitting buildings and changing the energy use within them and how we heat our buildings in the future. I've been in the neighborhood for 12 years. I've board president twice in my building. We looked into our energy use and how we do things. We have a gas and oil boiler, and we have an A efficiency rating, which no new building that functions with heat pumps has, because they can't heat the building as efficiently as these ancient systems do work. And so the reason why I'm putting this out is that we talk about solar, we talk about different energy sources to complement really what we have available to us. The reality is that none of those secondary energy sources are really enough to power our city and heat our city enough to the point that we would like to be able to. We put solar on our roof. And the thing about solar on our roof in this climate is that we can only really get meaningful energy half the time. If we were in Southern Italy or the Middle East, solar would make a lot of sense as a real source of energy, but we can't depend on wind and solar coming. So what I'm saying is if we have to bear the cost of changing all of the way our buildings work, if the carbon net cost is actually more expensive to do all this retrofitting when we're not getting the power delivery that you guys are promising, how are we supposed to move forward investing in our own infrastructure when we don't even know if that energy is really available? The same with the cars. Like, it'd be great if we could all have electric cars, but there are hundreds and hundreds and thousands of old cars that have the right to be here still. So I'm looking at these, and I want to see, how is this feasible as opposed to aspirational, is I guess my major question. And thank you for your presentation.
Jordan, do you want me to take that first? Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I'll just say that this changing zoning can take many years, and during that period of time, we have the Inflation Reduction Act. There's a lot of ongoing work at the city, state, federal, even global level with respect to addressing climate change. I think we're really focused on with this proposal is just taking best practices based on a lot of coordination with Urban Green Council to really just ensure that zoning isn't a barrier and is a good tool to support a lot of these goals. So it's not. I would treat this as kind of like one important piece in a much larger, effort at many different levels of government. So I would welcome a lot of the issues that you're saying, but I just want to kind of frame the big picture from what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I would say is that this proposal, all of these proposals together, are not about requiring anybody to do anything. They are about, taking certain sections of the zoning code that make it harder to decarbonize and changing them so that people have permission to engage in activities that will get us towards a carbon neutral future, right? So Local Law 97 is on the books already, right? The state provision about, selling electric cars, that's on the books already. What this is about is finding parts of the zoning code that inhibit New York City residents from, doing things like installing solar on their roofs or doing retrofits. No one has to do any of those things. But this makes it easier for people who want to do those things to do them.
Thank you. Next person, please.
I think that's me, Ethel Tyus. My questions go to the residential solar energy panels on the roof. And you indicated that anything at 250 kilowatt hours or more will require FDNY approval. That's for a two-family brownstone, that sounds like about a half a month's usage. What rules is FDNY using to approve 250 kilowatt hours and more? Say 500 kilowatt hours for a month for a two-family house. What is FDNY looking for to be able to approve that battery?
Sorry, so just to clarify, the rule about 250 kilowatt hours is not related to solar panels. It's related to the battery, and
I'm talking battery storage. Yeah.
Okay, battery storage. Yeah. Okay.
And what are they looking for to be able to approve it? Is it the content of the battery? Does it have to be a maximum amount of lithium mixed with graphite, or is there some other chemical makeup that will allow FDNY to approve a solar energy storage battery of 250 kilowatt hours or more?
I don't know the details of how FDNY is making that decision, so let's take that down. We're going to take down that question and look into it and get back to you.
Okay, I have called FDNY and I couldn't get anybody that could fill in that blank, so your help would be appreciated.
Yeah, we will look into it and try to get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tice. Who is the next person? Drew, can you give us the lineup again? Okay, thank you. Robert, and then who else?
Brianna Peppers, and then Gib Baconi.
Thank you. Mr. Callahan?
My questions have been substantially addressed, so I'm going to withdraw. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Brianna Peppers?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just one question for you. Are there any incentives that go along with any of these proposals, particularly for buildings, tax incentives? I saw one of the slides mentioned, financial support, but what are the incentives for helping building owners sort of make this happen?
I believe, let me see if I can find slide. Yeah, so if you go to accelerator.nyc, like there are a variety of tax incentives that exist at various levels of government to help you with this sort of thing, federal, state, and city level. As far as the city level tax incentives goes, if you go to accelerator.nyc, that will give you a more complete list of all of the incentives that are at your disposal, and that you can draw on if this is something that you're interested in doing. That would be your best resource to get a sense of everything. To get a sense of everything that's at your disposal.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that our Congresswoman Clark just wants us to know, and her rep is online, Orlando Ross, that there are some federal resources that are coming. So I just wanted to say that perhaps he will speak more when it's time later on in our evening. Thank you. Who's next? Who else has questions or comments?
I was Gilbert Coney, then Mark Thurton, and Dr. Saralaza.
Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Gib. One of the questions I have has to do with the use of solar canopies. This was something that got a lot of discussion in the Land Use Committee, and I just want to clarify what the guidance for the Landmarks Commission will be for solar canopies that are visible from a public thoroughfare. It looks like, I believe that the solar canopy height can be up to, not over parking areas. I'm not concerned about that. I was concerned about on buildings, on designated buildings. And yeah, I believe the new height limit right is 15 feet. But what's the guidance in landmark districts for the use of those canopies at that height?
I believe that, and Jonah, correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe that anything that the landmarks, that the LPC regulates, they would still have the power to regulate even after these changes to the zoning code are made. Right? So if the LPC has the power to regulate, the view shed or something like that from a public thoroughfare, I believe they would still retain that power even with the increased allowances for solar panels. But Jonah, again, I think you know more about how the LPC operates, so you can correct me if I'm wrong.
We can take that back, Gib, just to confirm. I'm not sure if we've given them guidance, but my understanding is that their case-by-case review will still stand. So
Okay. I guess specifically, I was wondering whether going from a 6-foot setback to a 0 setback from the street wall would be considered as of right, even in a historic district, to put a finer point on it.
that is correct. Just to give as much flexibility for owners on the roofs.
So in that instance, the LPC might not have discretion to regulate that, to say that even, for instance, a 0 setback for a 15-foot canopy would likely be visible from a public thoroughfare in a landmark district.
It would be allowed by zoning under our proposal, but LPC would still have discretion to adjust that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thurton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm really happy that you guys are doing this project because it's extremely important for our environment. I'm also happy that you guys are changing this, the solar roof panel requirement, because the existing one was totally inefficient. I mean, if you install it, you still don't get you don't get a big bang for your buck. My problem is echoing Joseph's concerns, is that if we put in the solar into our location, we still have the boilers that we have that's going on. That's the main concern. I was taking a look at these HVA split systems, the AC and heating units, and they're like from $15,000 to $17,000 per floor. This is like a brownstone with 3 or 4 apartments. I don't see it cost efficient for you guys to put emphasis on me to remove my gas boiler and bring in this new system. I don't see when I'm going to be getting paid back on this at all in my lifetime. Even with these credits that you're saying. And then is this then, if I'm not complying, will you tax me as you're going to be doing with you're going to find the other commercial spaces that's not complying?
I don't know the, hi, thanks for the question. I don't know the particulars of your building in particular, but local law 97, which is the citywide law mandating reduced emissions from buildings. Buildings that are subject to that law are buildings larger than 25,000 square feet. If your building is less than 25,000 square feet, then it is not subject to the law.
Okay, all right, but in reference to convert, I mean, because we all want to help out, but the prices are crazy, and we need more incentives price-wise for me to make that investment. And also, we have a concern when we get the solar energy, this solar system on our roof, our insurance goes up. I mean, it's one thing or another. The insurance is looking at it that's going to be another damage that comes across when there's a storm. And you know, as a small homeowner looking to try to provide feasible rent to people, I mean, it's good, but you're still trying to kill us financially, and that's a concern that we have in the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thurton. I just want to say, Jordan, I hope that you are really taking notes. We have some really good questions here that we really need some answers to. So thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
before you pick the next person, Mr. Staten has Mr. Staten has to go next.
Sure. Mr. Staten? Mr. Staten, can you hear us? Well, if you're able to use the chat, Mrs. Staten, because we can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear us. Okay, so we're going to just move on to Dr. Lazar, and hopefully we can get Mr. Staten back.
Thank you, Chair Weatherspoon. And thank you to DCP for putting on this presentation. A thought that I had with all of this is the fact that Department of City Planning, I think it's in. Oh, hello?
No, this is Shauna. Yeah.
Yeah, I can make my comment if Mr. Staten's ready to go.
Tamika,
Ms. Gibbs,
mute
can you
yourself.
mute yourself?
Okay, I'm sorry. I had pressed the button. I'm sorry. There you
Oh, okay. So I'll go.
Go right ahead, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I understand Department of City Planning is mostly focused on future construction of buildings and what's allowed within them. But one thing that's worth noting is that concrete is one of the largest producers of greenhouse gases and carbon emission, just damage to the environment. And so I think it's worth considering not only how to make the new construction green, but also how to preserve existing construction, because it may turn out that in the grand scheme of things, it could be better for the environment to be retrofitting existing buildings, preserving them, and not necessarily focusing on new construction to being the most important way of greenifying our city. And I guess I was concerned to see that REBNY, the Real Estate Board of New York, was consulted for, developing these proposals. And REBNY is, an organization that, has always put profit over the priority of housing people. The function of housing to, be occupied by people, and also, to be part of an ecosystem at large. And, maybe this is more of an HPD concern, but it seems like there's a sort of intersectionality of this topic. The Real Estate Board of New York has pushed against, the idea of vacancy taxes, or of things that would keep, rent stabilized buildings affordable. They push back against the idea that buildings need to continually be maintained. They want the demolition to be a loophole for deregulating a property. And I'm concerned about them having an outsized voice in terms of us trying to come up with a green vision for the future when it comes to our housing and with city planning. So sorry if that was a long comment, but these are some current concerns that I had. So thank you.
Do you care to comment,
Thank you.
Jordan? Or Jonah?
I'll just say, I really appreciate all those comments, Sarah. And, I think as far as including REBNY, I know there are a lot of organizations that were kind of looped in, but I know that Urban Green Council was the primary one. So we're kind of taking their lead, and they've strongly endorsed all of these proposals. But yeah, I think it's, I'm just taking a look at everything you said. We're taking copious notes, as you know. And I will say that this proposal applies to both new and existing buildings, and there are some provisions to support existing buildings as well. So it's really about a mix of new construction, but also just as much about retrofitting existing buildings. And I think the rooftop solar kind of speaks to that as well, just to give as much flexibility for owners to install solar canopies.
Thank you. Mr. Gabriel? Any more comments or questions? Anyone has their hand up? Mr. Muzio.
And then also, sorry, I don't want to mispronounce the first name, but Bolden.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Muzio.
I believe what was said tonight is great. It's good for the city. And I also understand that in the beginning, there are little tweaks that have to be worked out. Not every situation is the same. Not every building is the same. You can't make one law for the whole city and it's going to work. It doesn't work. I'm glad to hear that the fire department is involved in the battery storage. Of course, they are the ones that fight the fires. What really, really appalls me, though, is that we have two cities. This is a tale of two cities. One city says we need to eliminate pollution, we need safety, we need health situation, and the other city says open streets. Open streets, they cause pollution. They cause a lot of health issues and emergency issues. So when we get rid of open streets, we'll have a clearer path to doing this. We'll have a good start. This will be a real good start. First, we have to get rid of the things that we're implementing to stop, to prevent this program from going forward. We have to start at the bottom. We have to get rid of all, closing down the streets causes traffic, causes congestion, causes pollution. Allowing restaurants to eat on a city street. Rats ride the street. This is the mayor speaking now. The streets are rat ridden, right? The city allows restaurants to put tables on the street. I won't eat in a restaurant that puts tables on the street. Maybe that's me. We have fire issues, fire lanes, safety. We have a lot of issues. We have to correct these issues before we go on with a major program, which is really good. I applaud this. This is great. I had a 2020 regular Tucson, SUV. I traded in for a 23 hybrid. I'm all for pollution, the whole works. This is great. But I don't understand why we allow one thing to interfere with this.
Incoming call from 718-324-6208.
When we're contradicting what we want to do, the basis of it. This is total contradiction.
Thank you, Ms. Muzio. Is there a comment for Mr. Muzio before we move on? Okay, we're going to go to Natalie Bolden. Natalie Bolden.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, one of my questions was concerning the solar panels on the roof with my building, but I live in a landmark building, so he said he would have to check that out. But my next question is concerning the rezoning. So does that mean now the whole city has to be rezoned, and how does that look? I'm kind of confused about that as far as the zoning goes.
Yeah. So this is not a rezoning of any land in the city. What this is doing is changing some of the language in the zoning code itself to change what is allowed in certain areas and on certain types of buildings, right? There's nothing in this proposal that sort of takes a geographic area of the city and rezones it. It's about, like I said, it's about changing the language of the zoning code to make it easier for people all across the city to put up solar panels or install EV chargers on their property, or change the kinds of street trees that we use, rooftop greenhouses, things like that. Does that answer your question? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bolden. Mr. Staton, can you hear us? Are you able to speak? Because we can't hear you. Okay, I just want to mention that Mr. Staton had two comments in the chat. One saying that it's not good for the small homeowner, and he made a comment that the cost just doesn't work. So I just wanted to say that because he's not able to speak with us. So I wanted to mention that is in the chat, his comments. Do we have any other people who would like to say something, ask a question, give feedback?
Madam Chair, there's no one else with their hands raised, but if anybody wants to speak, this is their opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Okay, seeing none, hearing none. Again,
Hello?
thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, who's this?
Hi, my name is Jay Ruiz. How are you?
I'm good, sir. You have
Okay,
a comment for the presentation?
no, I have a question about, I would like to speak about Underhill Avenue, the plans for Underhill Avenue.
That will come into public comments. We are in the middle of a presentation. Actually, we're actually finishing that presentation. So you'll definitely be queued in when that time comes, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so as I said before, if you have any other additional comments, questions, please send it to our board office. Again, that's brooklyncb8@gmail.com. And you can continue to email that information until next week, Friday, which is the 16th. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go right into our public hearing with our SLA and Sidewalk Cafe Review Committee. I'm calling for Robert Widowax, our vice chair. I am the chair, but Robert is the vice, and this is his area to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. The SLA committee met on Monday, June 6th, 2023 via WebEx. The committee discussed the following new liquor license applications. Number one, Provito Group LLC, doing business as Villager. Address is 841 Classen Avenue between Lincoln and Eastern Parkway for a wine, beer, and cider license. Details of the application for the wine bar include one service bar with 4 seats, 3 tables with 20 seats, a maximum capacity of 24 persons. Hours of operations are 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 5 p.m. to midnight Friday and Saturday. I should clarify that that is for wine, beer, and cider service. The cafe is open earlier in the day for non-alcohol service. There will be recorded music. The Sidewalk Cafe outside measures 18 by 16 for a total of 288 square feet with 4 tables and 8 seats for a maximum capacity of 20. The cafe proposed with the same hours as the indoor space. 3 total employees, inclusive of a manager, bartender, and server. The committee voted 14 in favor to support the application with the stipulation that the outdoor space close at 10 Sunday through Thursday and 11 on Friday and Saturday. The applicant agreed to the stipulation, and the committee hopes the full board supports its recommendation. Is the applicant here with us tonight?
I am. This is Courtney Severson.
Hi, Courtney, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Are there any questions about the Villager?
Mr. Muzio, is your hand up now or for the presentation?
No, it's not up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments on this application? Ms. Roach?
Hello?
Hi.
Hello? Hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So I'm wondering, will there be music played outside? And if so, do you have a permit for it, and did you get it from DOT?
Yes, there will be no music playing outside. There will just be a Sonos speaker inside playing ambient music, but no music outside.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other
Ms. Bolden?
questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Widowax.
Nope, just same thing you were going to say.
Oh, okay.
Any other
All right.
questions?
Yeah, I
I saw
can't.
Ms. Bolden's hand is up.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was trying to put it down. That was from the
That's okay.
presentation.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry. Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
Just to expand on Ms. Roach's comment, as a committee, we generally do not approve any outdoor amplified sound for any establishment, whether it's a backyard, sidewalk, doesn't matter. We like to keep sound indoors where it belongs.
Thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, I am calling for a motion, please.
I would like to propose that I move that we support the committee's recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Lazar. Who's seconding?
I will
Second that
second.
motion, Tamika Gibbs. I actually heard Ms. Ty speaking first, so.
That's fine.
Uh,
Ms. Gibbs is fine as a second. Thank you.
Okay. So we have Dr. Lazar making the motion and seconded by Tamika Gibbs. Ms. Neal, can you do the vote, please?
Akuya Adu,
Yes.
Aaron Alexis Pierre,
Yes.
Linda Andrews,
Yes.
Lisa Atkinson,
Yes.
Princess Ben James,
Incoming
Yes.
call for 928.
Julia Boyd,
845.
Margaret Brown Henry. Margaret
Yes.
Brown Henry. Thank you,
Yes.
Ms. Henry. Thank you. Jock Grenville, Robert Callahan,
Yes.
Edward Delman,
Yes.
Diane Duke,
Yes.
Andrea Ferris,
Yes.
Michael Francoeur, Drew Gabriel,
Yes.
Tamika Gibbs,
Yes.
Najani Granville,
Yes.
Colin Jakubczyk,
Yes.
Christopher Leon Johnson, Zerzima Jordan,
Yes.
Francis Langley,
Yes.
Robert Lapointe, Dr. Sarah Lazar,
Yes.
Lisa Maldonado,
Yes.
David Mantell, Mr. Mantell, are you still here? Quasi Menza,
Abstain.
Mimi Mitchell,
Yes.
Gail Mohammed,
Yes.
Bia Ortiz Joyner,
Yes.
Brianna Peppers,
Yes.
Terea Petway,
Yes.
Dr. Khadija Ramarak,
Same, please.
Yaya Raji,
Yes.
Anika Roach.
Yes.
Miss Roach, do you pronounce your name Anika, Annika, Anika?
Anika.
Thank you so much. Connor Ross,
Yes.
Brian Saunders, Meredith Staten, Nicole Tatro,
Yes.
Mark Thurton,
Yes.
Samori Torre, Ethel Tyus,
Yes.
Gib Vaconi,
Yes.
Kimberly Watson, Irsa Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Sharon Wedderburn,
Yes.
Robert Witherwax,
Yes.
Deborah Young.
Yes.
Miss Young, are you still in the meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I thought I
And
did.
did Mr. Staten record a vote in the chat?
He did. He said yes.
Yes,
did.
he did.
Thank you so much. The motion passes 35 in favor, 2 abstentions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we wish you every success and welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, second item was G's Caribbean Corporation, 770 Nostrand Avenue between Sterling and St. John's Places for a full liquor license. Details of the application for the Grab and Go restaurant include applying for a liquor license to take advantage of new drinks to go regulations, seeking methods of operation inclusive of DJ, karaoke, live music, non-amplified acoustic music in case of any private parties, but not expected to have regular programming using these methods. Maximum capacity is 45, but the establishment currently only has 5 tables with 10 seats. Hours of operation, 11 a.m. to midnight daily. It should be noted there's no outdoor space. The committee voted 14 in favor to support the application with the condition that speakers no greater than 100 watts be employed during private events. The applicant agreed to the condition, and the committee hopes the full board will support its recommendation. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. Do we have any questions on the application?
Ms. Roach, is your hand still up? Or is it a new question for this applicant? Is it up from last time or
No,
this new?
it's up. It's up.
Oh,
So
okay, please.
I have a concern because I actually live on Nostrand Avenue and there's a lot of bars and bar lounges. So I'm just trying to understand how would yours be any different from the others that's on the avenue? Like how are you gonna how do you see yourself being successful when you're competing against all these other places?
Well, our brand is unique to the area, and I think that we bring a nice addition to the neighborhood. And so far, we've only been in business for 2 years, and our numbers speak for itself. So we're able to compete with many businesses in the area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wedderburn.
Just a question for the applicant. Would you characterize your restaurant as an in-and-out restaurant or a grab and go? From my perspective, a grab and go is like a sandwich shop with prepared foods, whereas people will be coming up to your counter to get hot meals for the most part. Am I correct?
Well, I would say we are an in and out. We do offer indoor dining. There are in occasions, especially on a Sunday, where a group of people will come and congregate and sit at the table. So we're not necessarily a grab and go. We are a takeout as well as a dine-in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tyus?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Poulos, can you speak to the numbers? Since you say they speak for themselves, can you speak for them in this this evening and let us know what you're seeing?
Well, when I say the numbers speak for themselves, I'm saying that we are able to sustain, even though we are a new business, we're able to meet our bottom line and still be in business. Even though we are a new business, we are growing. And with the liquor license, hopefully we will have more potential revenue. So that's what I mean when I say we are able to sustain in this industry, restaurant business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I see a couple of hands, Ms. Wedderburn and Ms. Roach. If you could lower them if you don't have any more questions or comments. Seeing none, thank you. I'm asking for a motion for this applicant.
Motion to support the applicant's application.
Second,
I
Marva.
second. This is Ethel Tyus.
Thank you. The motioner is Najani Granville and Marva Brown has seconded. Ms. Neal?
Akuya Adu,
Yes.
Sharon Alexis Pierre,
Yes.
Linda Andrews,
Yes.
Lisa Atkinson, Miss Atkinson, Princess Ben James,
Yes.
Julia Boyd, Marva Brown Henry,
Yes.
Jock Brunville, Robert Callahan,
Yes.
Edward Delman,
Yes.
Diane Duke,
Yes.
Andrea Ferris,
Yes.
Michael Francoeur, Drew Gabriel, Tamika Gibbs,
Yes.
Najani Granville,
Yes.
Colin Jakubczyk,
Yes.
Christopher Leon Johnson, Serzima Jordan,
Yes.
Francis Langley,
Yes.
Robert Lapointe, Dr. Sarah Lazar,
Yes.
Lisa Maldonado,
Yes.
David Mantell, Kwasi Menza, Mr. Menza, Mimi Mitchell,
Yes.
Gail Muhammad,
Yes.
Thea Ortiz Joyner,
Yes.
Brianna Peppers,
Yes.
Terea Petway,
Yes.
Dr. Khadija Ramarak,
Yes.
Yaya Raji,
Yes.
Anika Roach,
Yes.
Connor Ross,
Yes.
Brian Saunders,
Yes.
Meredith Staten, Nicole Tatro,
Yes.
Mark Thurton,
Yes.
Samori Torre, Ethel Tyus,
Yes.
Gib Vaconi,
Yes.
Kimberly Watson, Irsa Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Sharon Wedderburn,
Yes.
Robert Witherwax,
Yes.
Deborah Young.
Yes.
Did Mrs. Staten record his vote in the chat?
Mr. Staten was a yes, and Mr. Mensa is an abstain.
Thank you so much.
And Miss Atkinson voted in the chat too. Lisa Atkinson.
Oh, apologies.
Lisa Atkinson, let me get
Yes.
here to you. And what was Miss Atkinson's vote, please? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And Natherleen Bolden in the chat.
Not a member.
Natalie Bolden is not a voting member.
The motion passes 37 in favor with 1 abstention.
Thank you so much. We wish you also the best in your business, in the neighborhood, in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to do youth and education next. Miss Marva Brown.
Okay. Sorry, let me pull up our action item. On Tuesday, June 6th, the Youth and Education Committee reviewed a resolution about smoke-free media. The resolution was submitted for consideration by Brittany Hale, who holds a master's in public health and is a youth engagement manager of Brooklyn Reality Check, a statewide health education and advocacy program aimed at combating tobacco and e-cigarette use. They are run through NYC Smoke Free, a program of public health solutions, the largest public health nonprofit in the city. Ms. Hale made a presentation about her work to the committee at our meeting in May, which revealed importantly a 2022 study by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which found that 2.55 million U.S. middle and high school students reported current e-cigarette use, and nearly half, 46% of high schoolers who vape do so near daily. And young people are more than 3 times likely to start vaping when exposed to commercial tobacco imagery in popular streaming and TV shows. Brooklyn Reality Check is working with statewide partners to educate communities on the negative impact of smoking scenes and tobacco use in movies, television shows, and social media platforms that are rated for youth. The goal is to protect children from the powerful influence of on-screen smoking and vaping imagery. The resolution asks Brooklyn Community Board 8 to sign on so that it may be sent to the New York State Attorney General's office, urging that office to explore solutions that can reduce or eliminate the depiction of smoking, vaping, e-cigarette use, and brand identification in entertainment and media venues. Specifically calling on content creators to develop comprehensive anti-tobacco policies and share them with the public, running successful anti-tobacco and anti-vaping ads before and during shows that feature tobacco imagery, certifying that the film industry accepted no tobacco industry payoffs in exchange for including tobacco depiction in a show, expanding education, outreach, and research efforts to inform the public, parents, directors, writers, and producers about the importance of keeping tobacco out of shows, calling on content creators to eliminate smoking and vaping in all new youth-related films or productions. The Youth and Education Committee voted unanimously to support and sign the Smoke-Free Media Municipal Resolution as presented by Reality Check of New York, and hopes that the full board will do the same.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Do we have any questions with regard to this resolution, this proposed resolution? Any questions or comments that we have for Ms. Brown? Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to ask for a motion for this resolution, please.
I move that we support the committee's resolution or proposal.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dr. Lazar. Made the motion, and thank you to Ms. Wedderburn who seconded. Ms. Neal?
Akuya Adu,
Yes.
Sharon Alexis Pierre,
Yes.
Linda, I'm sorry, can y'all give me one moment, please? My computer it wants to register, you know, a youth and ed instead of a Y. So give me 1 second just to clarify what I needed to say. Thank you. Glenda Andrews.
Yes.
Thank you. Lisa Atkinson.
Yes.
What is this thing doing? Ugh. Princess Ben James.
Definitely yes.
And Julia Boyd. Marva Brown Henry.
Yes. Yes.
Jock Brunville. Robert Callahan.
Yes.
Edward Delman.
Yes.
Diane Duke.
Yes.
Andrea Ferris.
Definitely yes.
Michael Francoeur. Drew Gabriel.
Yeah.
Tamika Gibbs.
Super yes.
Najani Granville.
Yes.
Colin Jakubczyk.
Yes.
Christopher Leon Johnson. Zerzima Jordan.
Yes.
Francis Langley.
Yes.
Robert Lapointe. Dr. Sarah Lazar.
Yes.
Lisa Maldonado.
Yes.
David Mantell. Kwasi Mensah.
Yes.
Oh, here we go again. Sorry. Mimi Mitchell.
Yes.
Gail Muhammad.
Yes.
Theo Ortiz Joyner.
Yes.
Brianna Peppers.
Yes.
Soraya Petway. Ms. Petway.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Khadija Ramarak. Yaya Raji.
Yes.
Here we go with this nonsense computer. Anika Roach.
Yes. Yes.
Connor Ross.
Yes.
Brian Saunders.
Yes.
Meredith Staten. Nicole Tatro.
Yes.
Mark Thurton.
Yes.
Samori Torre. Ethel Tyus.
Yes.
Gib Baconi.
Yes.
Kimberly Watson. Irsa Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Sharon Wedderburn. Miss Wedderburn.
Yes.
Thank you. Robert Witherwax.
Yes.
Deborah Young.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. I know the motion is unanimous. However, my computer is not tallying the votes.
I have 37, Ms. Neal.
Thank you so much, Mr. Witherwax.
Thank you, Ms. Neal. Thank you, Mr. Witherwax. Next up will be the Environmental Sanitation Committee, Transportation Committee, Robert Witherwax.
Thank you, Ms. Weatherspoon. It's me again, everyone. So the EST committee met on Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023 via WebEx. At our February meeting, the committee had heard a presentation by the family of the Hall of Fame basketball player Roger Brown, seeking to co-name the northwest corner of Prospect Place at Utica Avenue in his honor. The family in the application cited his resilience in bouncing back to have a successful professional basketball career after he was erroneously kicked out of college and banned from the NBA for a point-shaving scandal that ultimately he was exonerated for. Roger Brown played several seasons for the American Basketball Association's Indiana Pacers basketball team, retired with the team. I believe they retired his number. And there is a scholarship, the Brooklyn USA Scholarship, that was formed in his honor. The committee considered the application in its totality at our May meeting. The committee voted 7 in favor, 1 opposed, with 5 abstentions to support the street co-naming request, and hopes the full board supports its recommendation. I believe the family of Roger Brown is with us this evening, or was at the earlier points in the evening. But at this point, I'll ask if anyone has any questions about the application.
Any questions? I'm not seeing or hearing any. So with that, I will ask for a motion for this applicant. Any
Ready?
motions? Yeah.
I support the committee's recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Granville. And thank you, Mrs. Saunders. Ms. Neal?
Akuya Adu,
Yes.
Sharon Alexis Pierre,
Yes.
Linda Andrews,
Yes.
Lisa Atkinson,
Yes.
Princess Ben James,
Yes.
Julia Boyd, Marva Brown Henry,
Yes.
Jock Brunville, Robert Callahan,
Yes.
Edward Delman,
Yes.
Diane Duke,
Yes.
Andrea Ferris,
Yes.
Michael Francoeur, Drew Gabriel,
Yes.
Tamika Gibbs,
Yes.
Najani Granville,
Yes.
Colin Jakubczyk,
Yes.
Christopher Leon Johnson, Zerzima Jordan,
Yes.
Francis Langley,
No.
Robert Lapointe, Dr. Sarah Lazar,
Yes.
Lisa Maldonado,
Yes.
David Mantell, Kwasi Mensah,
Yes.
Mimi Mitchell,
Yes.
Gail Muhammad,
Yes.
Thea Ortiz Joyner,
No.
Brianna Peppers,
Yes.
Tareya Petway,
No.
Dr. Khadisa Ramarak,
Yes.
Yaya Raji,
Yes.
Anika Roach.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Roach. Connor Ross,
Yes.
Brian Saunders,
Yes.
Meredith Staten, Nicole Tatro,
Yes.
Mark Thurton,
Yes.
Samori Torre, Ethel Thias,
No.
Gib Vaconi,
Abstain?
Kimberly Watson, Irsa Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Sharon Wedderburn,
Yes.
Robert Witherwax,
Yes.
Deborah Young.
No. No.
Thank you. The motion passes 29 and, oh, I'm sorry, did Mr. Staten record a vote in the chat?
Yes, in the chat.
Thank you, Ms. Wedderburn. The motion passes, where am I at? 32 in favor, 5 opposed, 1 abstention.
Thank you, Ms. Neal. Congratulations to the family of Roger Brown. The application now goes to the City Council, the entire council. Let me continue by saying that the committee has also begun to entertain a couple of other proposed co-namings for some other sized giants of our community, maybe not as tall as Roger Brown, but big in other ways of stature. Robert Matthews, the former board chair of Community Board 8, and James Caldwell, the former 77th Precinct Council chairperson. So we will be reviewing those applications shortly. We had a very active meeting in May. The meeting was recorded. It is available to be watched for those of you who want to do so. As part of my report, I want to address some of the feedback that we received during and subsequent to the meeting. Personally, and first of all, I want to apologize. When describing the purpose of having DOT present and the community respond to the issues, I use the term venting. That was a very poor choice of word. It was unnecessarily pejorative, and it was made in the moment and immediately regretted. I could have said feedback, testimony, expression, advice, Any of those, as I've said to the committee, would have more accurately reflected both the purpose of these presentations and how valuable I find them to be. One of the city chartered mandated responsibilities of community boards is to provide an opportunity for members of the community to participate in government. And I take our responsibility to host a forum for that very seriously. And I want to apologize once again to anyone who felt belittled by that poor choice of words that I made. A few other points that I want to clear up. There was some confusion about why we didn't vote on the Underhill Avenue proposal. Well, again, the Underhill Avenue proposal caused intense interest. We had a lot of support in the room. We had a lot of objections in the room. We had a lot of people who wanted to know more about the proposal. And I see in the chat, I believe we have the same dynamic going here tonight. May's meeting was DOT's 4th visit to our committee with this very presentation. And each time they'd come, they'd present, they listened, they went back, and they modified the plan in some ways that reflected the critique that they heard. But something is key here. Let's not forget, DOT comes to the community board as a courtesy, as part of that process of getting feedback. They come for our advice, not for our approval. We don't vote on DOT projects. We have rarely voted on DOT projects for the same reason that we don't vote on DEP projects like water main replacements. We don't vote on DOE projects like what teachers teach in the classroom or where the NYPD will patrol. It's just not what we do. Some members of some attendees took issue with a comment that I made about priorities. Well, I found it very ironic at the time that Underhill Avenue was using up all of the air in the meeting room, leaving, no pun intended, no oxygen left for the carbon. Unfortunately, this is an irony that has only grown sadder in my mind during this object lesson in climate change that we're undergoing right now, this blotting out of the sun. So I found it true then, and I find it true now, that whether a street has 24/7 unfettered access to cars or not is a really much, much, much smaller issue than whether we can breathe. There is, based on a lot of that, a recurrent charge against me and this committee's agenda that we are biased against or insufficiently considerate of those who drive. It's not. Our agenda is one of sensibility. It should not be, and it is not, a controversial thing to say that we should all aim to drive less. We all need to act sustainably to thwart climate change, and a greener planet starts with us. It starts with personal responsibility, choices we make in our daily lives, to compost, to recycle, to go electric, to take mass transit, even if it might cost more, and yes, drive less. Personal choice only takes us so far. There are policy solutions that we need to engage in, and we heard a great explanation of those earlier tonight. And as a member of this board and this community, I have a responsibility to advocate for those. Congestion pricing, no more gas hookups, robust transit options, mandatory composting, these zoning text amendments we just heard about. And yes, a greater diversity of uses for the city's largest public space, its streets. To Ms. Lazar's point, climate change can make strange bedfellows. Dr. Lazar's point, right? We may not always be comfortable with who we end up on the same side of these issues with, but these are existential issues. I have abundant sympathy, and I have always said so, for those who must drive, the disabled, the elderly, those who commute. But look around you. That's not everyone. That's a minority. The majority of the cars in any block are parked there for convenience, not necessity. And we should not be designing our streets around convenience. We should not be designing our city around convenience, but necessity. Sustainability is inconvenient. It is costly, but it is necessary. It is existential. So no, I am not anti-car. I'm pro-breathing. I hope everyone who's looked at the sky in the last couple of days will see my point. So that's enough of my soapbox. The EST committee will meet again on June 27th by WebEx, and I'm sure I will see many of you there. I will turn the floor to Ms. Weatherspoon.
Thank you, Mr. Whitterwax. And thank you for just acknowledging maybe some misspoken words. We appreciate you addressing them and really explaining how the meeting went, and just hopefully people have more information and really understand what took place and the position you've taken in terms of just really making clear what you intended. So thank you. I do have a hand raised here for Mr. Mensah.
Yes, I just wanted to say, pretty much in response to Mr. Witherwack said, I think that people tend to forget the reason why people have gotten so many cars, so-called for convenience. Whereas at a time during the COVID crisis, the subways were unmanageable, they were dangerous. So rather than take the subway and train, they bought cars. And I think it's ridiculous even to suggest this. People do not buy a car just for convenience. They buy because they need, they have family, they have children, want to get around, and they don't want to necessarily take a subway where they may get themselves knocked over the head. That's why I get in cars. We have cars. That's an insult. It's just somehow it's some type of like toy that people are acquiring. They get it for a reason, a valid reason.
Thank you. The next hand that I noticed.
I agree 100% with
Excuse
what
me,
he just said.
Mr. Ruiz, as we're going in order, there are people that have their hands up.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
My
Thank you so
hand is
much.
up. I hope you can see it.
No, I don't see it actually. I don't in frame.
Well, don't forget
Mr.
about
Joseph
me.
Alexa, I won't
I'm
forget.
gonna-
I'm going to jot you down. I'm not going to forget. Joseph, please. Thank you. And how do you pronounce your name, Joseph?
Thanks. Yeah, I know it's one of those weird names. It's Alexiou.
Alexiou. Okay, thank you. Please.
Thank you. No problem. It's always a conversation topic. So I want to thank the previous speaker for pointing out what he said about venting. That is big of you to do. And so I was happy for like the first 15 seconds of when you talked. And then you went on to say, how could we possibly talk about Underhill when, you know, your carbon initiative is just so much more important. That is, again, being rude and obnoxious and belittling the issue we find important because it affects our everyday lives. Your carbon initiative is part of a whole bunch of really beautiful city propaganda about how to be greener when we don't even have a solution to actual fossil fuel problems. So actually, my problem on the ground is about fossil fuels that I keep breathing in because of all the traffic problems caused by the shutdown of Underhill that happen all the time, uselessly and to the benefit of very few people. And I really don't understand why it's so hard for you to understand if all of us are here and all of us take serious issue with how it's been, you know, the outreach has gone out, whose actual safety is being considered, what the community might say about all these taking away, and just that you would talk about cars as a convenience, like the previous commenter said. It is so rude because you don't even know the philosophy behind getting rid of cars in the streets comes from Jane Jacobs' Death and Life in Great American Cities, 1961. And when they wrote that book, she specifically pointed out that that could only exist in neighborhoods where we made it difficult to park because people could walk to their jobs in a combination of commercial and residential and industrial zoning. So since you haven't done any of that or provided from DOT any real good transit, like I can't get to Bushwick on a bus. Are you kidding me? I have to call a car. That's the only way to get there in 30 minutes with all of my equipment to do my second job. So I want to know how you plan to solve the transit issue before you tell me that you're going to green my block and not even give me any kind of consent in that at all. And I will say this, one person on community board has silenced over and over again people that are minorities, people that live on this block in Underhill, Washington area. And I am tired. I am tired of being told that we're wrong, we don't know what we're talking about, or that our safety concerns are not safety concerns. Thank you very much for your time and stop belittling our issues.
Thank you, Mr. Elixir. I just want to say, and I understand, I'm glad you all are here this evening. I just want to say that, again, that this is a DOT situation. We don't, and I think Mr. Witherwax mentioned that already, that it's a courtesy that they even come to us. They mentioned that they did a survey. I don't know how many people were part of that survey, but I just don't want, I just want us to be able to focus our energies where it should be. And it's not focused in on Mr. Witherwax in terms of coming up with solutions. Okay, what he speaks of, and I'm not speaking of the personal view, what I'm speaking of is what has been presented to the board and what is directed to his committee that he shares with all of you. So I just feel that I need to say that, that's very important. So I'm going to just move on, and I appreciate you guys again being here. And let me just say something else in case I forget to say it later. I am asking that all of you that are here to please email to the Brooklyn office so you can be part of the mailing list. So when we dispatch information, when things come, you can receive and be a part of the conversation. Because the same people that I'm seeing tonight, I would like to see again and again, not just with this issue, but other issues. So I think it's important because we need your input for everything. But I just want to make sure that you understand that this is a DOT mandate. Okay, I need you to understand that. So I'm just going to go on. Excuse me if I don't get the order right, but it's going to be Ms. Ortiz Joyner, Alicia, Mr. Ruiz, and then I'll say the other names after. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank Mr. Witherwax for his apology. But what I would like to say is that as the chair, as a member of EST, I completely know where you stand. And what concerns me is that as the chair, I feel that there's bias. And I don't want to feel in the committee that I've chosen and I'm proud to be on, maligned for the choice of my transportation. And I'm always one to want to share the roads, and I don't think that one demographic should be over the other. And I understand that DOT does a courtesy to come and do a presentation to the EST committee, but I'm speaking for myself, and that's how I feel sometimes in the EST committee. So I just would like some form of respect and decorum within folks who don't necessarily agree, and sometimes it doesn't feel that way. So I've said my piece. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alicia?
Hi, everyone. So
Howard.
this conversation about open streets has been a very long one. I am the president of the 70th Precinct Community Council. So I'm actually here on behalf of myself, who has grown up here. My family's lived here for 40 years. Just going back to one of the comments that was made a bit earlier about cars being a convenience. I mean, there's just a lot of people in this neighborhood now, a lot more than what used to be. I mean, the numbers have increased, which ultimately increased the number of cars, obviously. And growing up here in Brooklyn and Prospect Heights, having a car was a necessity. Like, you needed to get out of the city as a kid. And to hear now that like the people who have moved in and then like the sky rises are going up and people just not understanding that there are just a lot more people here, whichever way you want to look at it. So there's going to be a lot more people, there's going to be a lot more cars, there's going to be a lot more bikes. All for a cleaner city, obviously. But when we have closed streets, that does not equate to a cleaner city. A lot of the traffic is rerouted to 6th Avenue, which is already a horrible traffic block up. And it's just not aiding our health, from the elders to the disabled to the fire trucks being stuck. And also happy to see that FDNY is on this call because from what I've heard, there are people from this, not everyone, but there are some people part of this committee that have been speaking on behalf of them. So I'm happy to see that all the appropriate agencies are on this call to, in fact, see what is going on in the community. Also, thank you for having this meeting. I think this meeting has become a space for people to speak out against what they don't agree on, and I think that's important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Howard. Next, Mr. Jay Ruiz. Mr. Ruiz?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Witherspoon. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jay Ruiz. I am the president and founder of the Brooklyn Bike Patrol. The Brooklyn Bike Patrol is an organization that walk people home late at night from train stops, bus stops, anywhere. And we do it for free. And we've been doing it since 2011, when there was a string of sexual attacks on women in Park Slope and Sunset Park. Now we service 18 neighborhoods in Brooklyn. So when it comes to safety, I'm all in. And I want you guys to read. And to let you know something else, Eric Adams, our great mayor, when he was a city councilman, he donated the jackets to my organization. Okay? So let me just begin. And I don't want to disrespect anybody, but Mr. Robert, I don't accept your apology because I don't believe you. Okay? There is a big forest fire in Canada, and that's why you can't breathe, sir. I couldn't breathe yesterday. Let me also say that I am a lifetime bike messenger. I've been a messenger since the mid-'80s, before a bike lane ever existed in New York. I have never been in an accident. I have never hit nobody. Safety is how I get around. The Brooklyn Bike Patrol, when somebody calls us and tells us where they're going to be at in 40 minutes or in 30 minutes so we can meet them and walk them home, we travel by our bikes. And we are zooming. Now, let me get to my point.
I just want to say, and I appreciate you being here, Mr. Ruiz, but I need you to make that
Okay, I'm going to make it really quick.
Okay, thank you
There
so
is
much.
a bike lane on Carlton Avenue. There is a bike lane on Vanderbilt Avenue. There is 2 bike lanes on Washington Avenue. There's a bike lane on Clawson, Grand, and Franklin. You'll want to put a don't even want to put a bike lane on Underhill. You just want to make it into a bike boulevard. It seems to me you guys want to lounge around. It seems to me, especially there's a guy named Kyle from the DOT who's not here. He's from Florida. Seems to me you guys just want to walk out of your building on Underhill and lounge. Let me tell you where you can lounge. 5 minutes away, Prospect Park. Let me tell you where you can lounge. Mount Prospect Park, which is the park between the library and the museum. We call it Circle Park. It's a beautiful park. You go in there, and on the perfect time, in the perfect wind, you can smell the botanical garden. It's a great place to lounge. You could even lay down a blanket. Okay? Let me tell you something else. Accidents don't happen on the avenue. Accidents happen in the intersection. I have seen it all as a bike messenger. I have seen people stop at the red light. A car stop at the red light, and a person coming on their bike gets a little shook up, get a little nervous because they inexperienced, and they fall down on their own. And it always happens in the intersection.
Okay,
It
Mr.
seems to me
Ruiz,
you guys want to make Underhill into a lounging place. Let me finish.
but I need
Let me
I need
finish,
you.
Ms.
I need
Witherspoon.
you.
Okay, we need
Listen,
to
I'm
get the
giving you
DOT.
respect, but I need
We,
you to.
I
I need
am
you to make it
respecting.
short. I need you to make, because this
Okay,
is, we have
I'm
other
gonna
business,
finish
and
by
I want to give
saying,
other.
Please let him
Hold
finish.
on.
Please
Hold
let
on.
him
I want to
finish.
give people. I want to
Please
give
let him
people an
finish.
opportunity to speak. So I'm giving you another minute to finish what you're saying, sir. Okay. We want to also allow others to speak.
let's have an in-person meeting. Okay, let's not Zoom it next time. Okay?
I'm so
And
glad
I'm
you
done.
mentioned that.
I'm done. I am
Yeah,
done. Let's have an in-person meeting.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I'm so glad you mentioned that because we always have in-person meeting, but because of the air quality that is going on right now, you mentioned Canada, so you know what's happening, okay? We are trying to protect ourselves and make it healthy. That's why we don't have this meeting in person, but we do have in-person meetings monthly. So hopefully you will sign up with the district office and you will know when those meetings occur and you can be there in person.
Let's
Thank
not
you
be
so
cowards.
much. Thank you so much. We're going to go on to the next person, and that is Linda B. And I'm asking you to make that short, Miss B, because we have others that would like to make a comment, please.
Hello, my name is Linda. I am so grateful for you for having this meeting and everyone who has shown up. I know that it's been made clear to us that the community board does not have any voting ability on the Underhill redesign, but we still wanted to come to talk to the community in this public forum because a bunch of us have been organizing, and a lot of you know that we have a petition. I'm not going to hold up too much of it because it's got people's phone numbers on it, but we have at this point, I have 500 signatures here. I know we have at least another 100 outstanding, and I believe we have another 200 outstanding. We're asking that we're saying that we don't feel the outreach has been meaningful for people with disabilities, for seniors. And I know that you've had in-person things on Underhill and we've had these meetings, but we would like for you to just consider that there are people in the community that cannot attend those types of meetings, and that we be mindful of their needs when they can't speak for themselves. Because I myself was sick last year. My mother had a stroke. I spent the last 2 years in a hospital, either with her or for myself. And now I'm here and I can speak, but I wasn't able to speak for myself 2 years ago. We have serious concerns that the closings and the redesign of Vanderbilt and Underhill are causing a cascading detrimental effect to the entire community and a lot of harm, especially for, like we said, seniors, people with disabilities. They're reporting that their families aren't visiting them anymore. They're unable to do their errands on the weekends. They don't have the ability to park a car 8 blocks away and carry their groceries back to their home. We've also gone and talked to our local firefighters. They've expressed that there are serious safety concerns that they've been experiencing. We've been told that we need to talk to the battalion chief, so we did. I'm also glad there's someone from FDNY on here because I know that there's a hierarchy in New York City politics, but we should be talking to the people who work in our community because they know our community best. We're also concerned that the traffic that the closure of these streets is pushing onto Washington and Atlantic is causing more pollution, not less. I'm very concerned about climate change. It's a huge concern of mine. And I see this initiative, while well-intentioned, as actually doing the opposite. It's actually putting more carbon into the air as people loop and loop and loop. And lastly, I do want to say thank you to Mr. Witherwax for your apology. But I would say that cars are not a convenience for many people who are already stressed in their lives due to taking care of sick parents like me, taking care of children. A lot of people I've talked to on the street use their jobs for work. A lot of people who park in this neighborhood come here to work. I've met a nanny. I've met people who work for car services, construction people. So I think we need to dig a little bit deeper. And my one last point is I would very much like future communications to be done in multiple languages. Every conversation, every piece of mail I get from New York City comes to me in 6 different languages, but every piece of mail and email I've gotten around Open Streets and the Underhill redesign is in English only, and that's leaving out a very significant portion of our community. So thank you for having us at this meeting, and we'll go somewhere else, I guess, but thanks for the forum anyway.
Thank you, Ms. B. It's not that we want you to go somewhere else, but we
I
want
know.
you to go directly to DOT.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't mean that.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
I
didn't
don't
mean that as a tag
I just don't want you to feel like we're alienating you and you can't come back.
No, we
You know,
know
that's not what I'm saying. But I just want you to direct those petitions to DOT.
We
All of them.
have, and we are
good.
having those conversations, but we also
And keep
wanted to
that
come
up.
to the community board to talk about, one last point I want to make. I know this seems like a one issue situation. A couple people have said that to me, but it's really not. It's safety, it's seniors, it's traffic, it's working class people getting to jobs, and these are quality of life issues. So if you wonder why people get so upset about it, if you take away our ability to live our lives, it's infuriating, stressful, and damaging. And most of us are already dealing with our own stresses because we're working class people who don't have garages. People who have their cars in the garage, that's a convenience. People who park on the street, that's a necessity.
Okay, we understand. And thank you for your comment and being here this evening. Thank you so much. Okay, and I'm going to ask the next set of people. You just have 2 minutes, or we're going to just have to move on because we have other things that we must discuss that is also important. So Megan Mustafa. Megan Mustafa.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Ms. Weatherspoon. I'm Megan Robinson Mustafa. I live on Underhill Avenue. I own a car. I drive. I park on the street. My car was actually totaled while it was parked on the street by a car crash on Underhill in 2013. 3 of my neighbors who I know personally have been hit by cars on Underhill Avenue pre-pandemic. Since the open street was instituted on Underhill, crashes and injuries on Underhill are down 55% and 58% respectively. So it's clear that reducing cars on the street and reducing the speeds has reduced the number of crashes and the number of injuries. So I just want to make one thing really clear because I think it gets lost in the conversation, and that is that the barriers that you see on Underhill will be going away. Cars will be allowed on Underhill. So even though it's called a bike boulevard, that's a DOT term, it is more of a shared street. And the bikes and cars do share a lane at certain points, but on other blocks, they're separate. So it's designed to be a slow street. And I think it's really important to think about this in terms of the bike infrastructure, because if it's safer for people to bike, then not as many people are going to be driving. I am terrified. I'm mostly a pedestrian, also a driver, sometimes a city biker. If there were a safer place to bike, then I would do that. And I also wanted to add, I'm not just concerned about safety on Underhill Avenue. I am also concerned about Washington, Carlton, all the other streets in our area. And I don't think it's an either or situation. I think we can all work together to find safety solutions for those other dangerous points in the area. So that's it. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mustafa. Ralph Pointer, Ethel Tyus, Mark Thurton, Taraya Gibbon Romel, and we have to cut it there. Thank you.
I would like to speak. I'm Dr. Baker, and I thought I was going to have the opportunity to speak.
Ms. Baker,
Dr.
did you have your hands up? Because I don't
Yes,
see,
I
Dr.
did.
Baker, I don't see your hand. I didn't see it. If it's there, I don't even see. Yeah, I don't see your hand. So you will be the last person. Okay. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Mr. Pointer. Mr. Pointer. Ms. Tyus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have to say, I feel Mr. Witherwax has been heroic with bearing his personal opinion for other people to respond to. But I just want to go on the record for the 2 adjudicatory committees that I serve on the board, while the city is bringing its proposals to these committees, land use, EST, et cetera, for review and opinion, as I would term it for this discussion, by the community board. We should be asking the presenters from the city agencies to come in with their data, and them not expecting us to go to the city's new portal and open data and fish around, which we can and we should, to see the reasoning behind the various proposals that are being brought to the committees for the committee's advice and opinions. So that's one thing that we need to do when we entertain proposals from city agencies, ask them to bring their data, what they're basing their proposals on for these very open streets as an example. Why are they picking those particular streets? KSI kills seriously injured. What is the data? Only one person presented some of the data going back more than 10 years on a particular block. So I think we need to be more particular in how we examine the proposals coming in and we render our advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Tyus. Mr. Thurton?
Good day, Madam Chair. Mine is quick. In reference to DOT doing that presentation, I don't feel it's a courtesy. I feel that they're doing their job function. That's part of their job function, to let the community be aware of what's going on, because DOT is spending a lot of money in the area. So that presentation is not a courtesy to the community. That presentation is part of their job function. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thurton. Now, and let me just say, in terms of courtesy, that's just really what it is. They make their decisions, and this is why it's important for all of you to get those petitions, as much as you can, and really direct that to them. All of these things that's been said are very important, and they should hear it, and they need to hear it with a big volume. So when I mentioned courtesy, I think it is their duty to come in and engage our interests. I really don't appreciate how things are done, not with that agency and with a couple of others, but this is just how it is right now. And I think it's just best that we go and lodge our complaints to them. Okay, thank you. And I just want to move on to Tareya Pettaway.
I said you can disregard my hand raised. That was an accident.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Givaconi?
Hi, thank you, Chair Witherspoon. My name is Gib Vaconi. I've lived in this neighborhood in Prospect Heights for 32 years. And I'm the chair of the Prospect Heights Neighborhood Development Council, which chairs the Vanderbilt Avenue and Underhill Avenue open streets. This evening, we heard a presentation about carbon neutrality. Part of the city's goal for carbon neutrality is to have 80% of all trips, personal trips, be on bikes, walking, e-mobility, and transit by 2050. The truth of the matter is the city is looking to move away from cars as transport. They are looking to use the parking lane for other purposes as well, including traffic calming, bike parking, containerized waste, bike share. As somebody who owns a car and parks it on the street, it's hard parking in this neighborhood. It's going to continue to be hard, and we're going to have to understand it and accept it. There's really not another path. And I realize that it's inconvenient, and I feel it personally, but I don't see any other path. I'm going to echo what Megan said about Underhill Avenue. It's not going to be closed to traffic. Barriers are going away. The street is going to be traffic calmed. Underhill Avenue is a street that has had a lot of dangerous car collisions in its history. I'd like to just take a moment and show you what some of those look like. This is across the street from what is now Fortin Playground. Again, at the corner where Fortin Playground is. This is on the far end of that block. These are all crashes that came near a playground used by young children on a street that also has a public lower school. This is a street we have a compelling interest in making safe. And since Open Streets has happened there, as Megan pointed out, there have been 55% less crashes than before and 58% less injuries. There aren't that many other tools for making Underhill Avenue safe. It doesn't have any speed bumps on it because the blocks are too short for speed bumps. So this is one of the very few tools that exists to help make the street safer for everyone. I want to make a point about Vanderbilt Avenue as well. Um,
I just
Vanderbilt
want to interrupt you, excuse me, Gib. I just want to make sure that this is very short.
Sure, no,
I
no, no
have to move
problem.
on, please. Thank you.
I just want to point out that this is a street that became an open street during the pandemic for economic relief, and it provides a very significant amount of economic benefit to about 23 businesses, more than half of which are minority and women-owned businesses. They employ hundreds of people on the street. This is a street that's enjoyed by thousands of people every weekend. So I want everyone to understand there's a lot of community benefit associated with these programs as well. And it's benefiting a broad community of entrepreneurs and performers and everyone else. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Romel, and then finally, Dr. Baker. Romel?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, clearly. Thank you.
How you doing? Yes, I'm a New York City police officer, and I also live in Prospect Heights. And I speak to officers, firefighters, EMT workers on these closed streets every day, and they all say it's a bad idea. It's not safe, and if safety's the topic here, there's nothing more unsafe than emergency vehicles not being able to get to their destination. So it makes no sense with these closures. It's just not safe. You know, for people, especially for people to do yoga, and Prospect Park is right there. There's no need to close our streets for yoga and gathering when it's just not safe for the elderly, for the disabled, and for emergency vehicles. You know, and all emergency personnel are against this that I speak to, and I'm in the field every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Dr. Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am a little appalled and surprised by Mr. Witherwack's apology, because in one breath, he's apologizing for a word that he used, and then he turns right back around and uses the word minority, and he throws that around, and as he doesn't care about the minorities. Furthermore, no one has said one word about education. I'm a retired principal and still remain very heavily involved with the DOE. And no one has taken a look at the school that exists on Vanderbilt. There are children who ride the bus every day because they're handicapped, they're disabled, or whatever. The principal has to create a new assignment for teachers, then to walk the children from the corner, either corner, to have a safe egress into the school. This whole plan smacks of disregard and discrimination to the American Disability Act, to seniors, to people who are disabled, to even to young mothers who bring out their babies and their children, and they have to find some place to park. And God forbid if the mother leaves something in the house and she has to go back to the house and get whatever she left. And Underhill is not a block that needs these kind of resources. Give the resources to underserved communities. But the biggest thing here is that no one seems to care about, this is a very tiny block. You have the block of Vanderbilt closed off for 3 days on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because of the restaurant decks and restaurant and convenience. I don't understand about Underhill being closed down when Prospect Park, just like Mr. Ruiz and Mr. Romel and Ms. Linda spoke about this. What is this about convenience? You want convenience, you go to Prospect Park, you go to Botanical Gardens, or you go to the park that's on Underhill. And this is so discriminatory. And I resent the fact that Mr. Gibbon, what's his name? Gibb, and Mr. Vacconi and Mr. Witherwack, they're so interested in closing off the street. And Mr. Witherwack, who made that outlandish analysis of look at the sky. We're dealing with Agent Orange as far as I'm concerned. And cars are not turning the sun orange. And so it doesn't sound so intelligent that you made that kind of reference about the cars and the sun and Canada. But I'm really annoyed that people are sitting here talking about closing off a very tiny block that doesn't need the resources, that is disregarding seniors, children who are in school, even the teachers. Where are they going to park in the morning? Is the principal supposed to supervise the entire student body while teachers are out looking for parking spaces? This is outrageous. This is outrageous. And
Thank you for your,
Ms. Withers.
okay, go ahead. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to cut you. You were thanking. Thank you for being here, Dr. Baker, and making your comment. Before I get to you, Mr. Whittlewacks, I'm going to get to Mr. Pointer. I called him earlier. He didn't respond. Can you hear me, Mr. Pointer? Hello, Mr. Pointer? We can't hear you.
He needs to unmute himself.
He's definitely unmuted. Now he's muted. Mr. Pointer, what you have to say is important. I'm going to ask you to put that in the chat because we can't hear you and I can see that you're unmuted. So can you please make your comment in the chat and we'll read it. Mr. Whittlewacks, please.
Madam Chair, at the risk of belaboring the points that have been made, I just wanted to respond to 3 or 4 comments directed at me. Number one, any member of the committee can attest to this. I have always made room on EST for a variety of viewpoints, and I do not silence anyone. And if anyone feels that way, I would hope they would come to me and discuss it. Number two, I have never expressed any personal opinion on the Underhill Avenue open streets, pro, con, or otherwise. So it is disingenuous to say that I am leading the committee in one direction or another on that question. I just provide the forum on this question. Number three, I do maintain, and I stand by it, that it would be a civic good for everyone in the city to drive less. And I do maintain that for most people, car ownership here in Brooklyn is a choice. However, I do acknowledge, and I said as much before, Dr. Baker, that for some, a minority of cars, it is a necessity. I make room for that, absolutely. And finally, to some of the very good points that have been raised, driving less isn't the only solution, it is one of them. And as many have pointed out, that can't succeed by itself in a vacuum. I will point out that the ESD committee has long advocated for robust mass transit. We spent most of this winter dealing on buses, but somehow we don't get the same turnout or the same passion as we do with this type of a discussion. Just a few observations.
Thank you. So we're going to conclude this portion. I really appreciate all of you being here, and I would like to see more of your faces, or some of you, I haven't seen your faces, but I guess your names at future meetings. It's important to have your voice heard and to be a part of these committees, because basically what we just did, I really gave the space for you to air, and I'm happy to do that. But had you been in the committee meeting, you'd have had an opportunity to do so then. Okay, so I appreciate you all here and what you have to say. It's important. So we're going to move on to the next item. Mr. Staten, we are here to honor you. We thank you so much for what you have contributed to this community board. You were here from the very beginning, and we want to acknowledge your 40 years commitment with us. You are our institutionalist. Your mind is like a steel trap. It amazes me every time I get to talk to you or I hear you speak. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to hear your voice. I don't know what's happening with the connection, but there you are participating in the chat. We just want to thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. And this meeting, again, was planned to be in person, so we had something to give you. But because of what's going on in the climate today and in probably the next couple of days, we had to take it to Zoom. So you will receive that. But we just want to thank you, applaud you. We appreciate you for all that you have done and your commitment to service for this community. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to our committee reports. I just want to say something just before, because I may forget. So right now it's in my mind. I just want to let all of you know that the board does not meet in the summer. So, and why that's important, there are two committees that do. We have the Land Use Committee that meets every month. And because we have landmarked items that get calendared every month of the year. And this is with the Landmark Preservation Commission. So that is one committee. The second committee is SLAC. That is the committee that does the review for the restaurants. And we meet actually 11 months. What we do in the summer, we combine our July and our August meeting. And this year's meeting will be, or this summer's meeting will be July 17th. And what that means is that because these two committees meet outside of the board calendar, we are empowered to make the decision on behalf of the board, the whole board. So I just wanted to bring that to you, give that information to you in case you didn't know it. And next, we're going to go to seniors with Gail Muhammad. Ms.
Good
Muhammad?
evening. Yes, good evening, everyone. The senior committee had a meeting last night, and the reason that we went forward, although there was a problem with the air quality, is that most of the seniors that attend our meeting live in the building, and it was just a matter of them coming downstairs or through a short courtyard. So participation was great. We had the Dwayne Cook Broadneck group featuring a vocalist, Stephanie Bates, and the seniors really enjoyed themselves. I'd like to thank the senior committee, CB8 members who participated and came out and helped last night. We do not meet in the summer. Our next meeting will be in September. September 6th is the first Wednesday, always of the month. We have the same meeting place. We meet at 1055 St. John's Place, and that's between Kingston and Brooklyn. Again, we had an excellent turnout. I'd like to thank Crown Heights North because they made a donation for some refreshments for the seniors, as well as believe it's Blue Nile Restaurant donated the food. So it was a very nice event, and the seniors really enjoyed themselves. We had seniors dancing, even with their rollers, they were dancing. So it was really a nice event, and they enjoyed it. So we encourage you to come out and join us. It says seniors, but it's really intergenerational. So we'd like to see you in September to come out to support the seniors and support our events. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Muhammad. Public Safety, Mr. Thurton.
Good day, Madam Chair. Thank you. Mark Thurton, Public Safety Chairperson. We met on Monday, May the 22nd by way of WebEx. The 77th precinct was in attendance. They reviewed the stats report. That stats report is sent out and it's in our newsletter. What's going to be happening is that the 77th precinct is going to be getting additional officers for the summer seasons. So that's going to be good. You'll see additional foot patrol coming to the neighborhood, which is extremely important. Summer's coming along, so they want to try to reduce crime, which is extremely important for our area. And what they were also doing is that they're concentrating on youth. So they have a couple of youth programs going on that it was sent out by Community Board 8. I'm going to ask them to send it out again. So, for you guys, if you have any kids that's involved, they're going to be doing a volleyball clinic. That's going to be from July into August. They're going to also be doing girls empowerment. That's going to be from July the 6th to August the 25th, the 24th. And also they're going to be doing a youth soccer, and that will be from July the 7th to August the 18th. Those flyers will be sent out again by the Community Board 8. Our next meeting will be on June the 26th. That will be the official last meeting. That's going to be at 6:30 by way of WebEx. However, for the Public Safety Committee, public safety goes on every year, every day, all season. So we won't be meeting officially. However, the Public Safety Committee will be in communication with each other and also with the 77th and 78th Precinct on different activities and different concerns that's going on. That's about it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate the report. Next up is health. Ms. Gibbs.
Hello. Hi, I'm calling for Ralph Pointer. Can we be heard now?
Not at this time, ma'am. We are doing committee reports, and you have a you have an echo.
Yes, we had to go to another facility because we were blocked on the other one.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I just need you to wait for our reports, and I'll come back to you. Okay. Thank you. Just hang on. Health. Ms. Gibbs?
Good evening. Good evening. The Health Committee met on May 23rd via WebEx. Our topic last month was mental health, because May is Mental Health Awareness. We had a presenter from New York Psychotherapy and Counseling Services. They told us about their two in-person locations, one in East New York on Linden Boulevard and the other one on Bushwick Avenue. And they also introduced their teleservices. You can go to their website at nypcc.org. They offer services for the entire family, adolescents as well as adults. A lot of the conversation tonight came up in our health meeting because a lot of the impact of the closing of Underhill and Vanderbilt was bringing on several different emotional impacts on residents of CB8. So this is all I heard tonight, what I heard on the 23rd, and it was a very good, rigorous conversation. And we just want to, again, give the services at New York Psychotherapy and Counseling Services. Again, their website is nypcc.org. Our next meeting will be held on June 15th at 6:15 via WebEx. We hope you all come and join us. We will start planning for the next year, as well as get active in our community because the summertime is approaching. Thank you, and hope to see you all then.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gibbs. Next is housing with either Ms. Granville or Ms. Atkinson. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to economic development with Mr. Saunders.
Good evening, everyone. A brief recap of our economic development meeting we had held every second Tuesday of the month. Next meeting will be next Tuesday via WebEx. And what we did speak about at the last meeting was the proposed Notion Avenue open street as well, which is a hot topic. We had a few words. We were actually notified by NAMA that it actually did not go through. So the Notion Avenue open streets was not going to move forward. Also, we spoke about we had a job fair, and we had a lot of great responses. We had a job fair on Franklin Avenue between Park and Prospect, where we had different city agencies and different businesses come out to actually hire on the spot. We actually got word back that they hired a few residents in the community. So that was very, very well received. And going back to the open street part, we did close down the street, and I did see the anger of some of the residents where they actually drove through the barricades that we had there that day. So it's a concern of mine also as well. But let's go back to economic development. We spoke about the hitting a lot of the passengers, the corridors of Community Board 8. The next corridors we're thinking about, well, we're going to work on is Kingston Avenue. The next corridors that we're also going to work on is St. John's. These are corridors that felt like that they haven't been approached and being serviced as well. So those are things and those are goals that we're working on. Please, economic development encompasses so much: the housing, the health, financial, public safety. So I applaud the members that we do have, the community members we do have, but we need more. And we actually just as important as SLAC and land use. And without the economics of the community, we're at a stalemate and we're just not doing anything. We need to be involved. We need to get off the sidelines, and there's so much going on. And thank you. I just gotta remind you again, next Tuesday, via web, please come on, and when you bring one, bring two. Bring yourself and bring a +1. And that's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Up next is land use, Sharon Wedderburn.
Ms. Weatherspoon, can I just ask a question of Mr. Saunders, if that's all right?
Oh, sure,
Okay,
absolutely.
and maybe this is for you, Mr. Saunders, maybe this is for Mr. Thurton in public safety. Can you give us an update on how the illegal smoke shops are being addressed?
The legal, well, I've wear several hats of 77 Precinct Community Council as well. And Mark, I know you're probably involved as well. Right now, they're composing, and Ms. George also from the district officers on a couple calls. They're asking us to submit names and locations of these establishments. Right now, Brooklyn North is composing these nails. They have a list at this present moment, and they're prepared to go out and work with the sheriff department as far as in multi Ms. Weatherspoon as well. So, I mean, Mark, you have anything further you want to say? Ms. George, you want to say anything more in this call?
Brian, I echo that. This is not just a concern within Community Board 8. This is a concern throughout Brooklyn, throughout the entire city. And you know, they opened this up, and there's a lot of illegal shops that's opening up. However, they're under the gun because they don't have enough manpower. I guess they didn't anticipate this coming along. However, they are starting to beef up, and they're saying that they're addressing it, but it is a concern, and especially the ones that's directing it towards the kids. That those are major concerns, and if they do a priority list, it's hard to say which one is doing the kids, but those ones should be targeted first, though. But yeah, I agree with you totally, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thurton. DM George, I'm about to call you. Thank you.
Okay. Currently, Community Board 8 doesn't have any legal cannabis shops. So every cannabis shop that you see, weed shop or whatever it's called, is illegal. If you see one, please send an email, call our office. You can send an email to brooklyncb8@gmail.com. We're compiling a list. We're sending the list over to the NYPD. The NYPD, they are currently doing raids on these illegal establishments. It's a three-pronged approach. It's the NYPD, Homeland Security, and the Sheriff's Office. So they're going in to confiscate goods, arrest proprietors, illegal proprietors. Homeland Security is involved, which is a good thing, because now there are federal charges that can be imposed on these illegal vendors. So if you know of a location, please call us. Please submit it. We're generating a list to submit over to Chief Shell.
Yeah, and one more thing, and they welcome you to if you want to be a part and witness a shutdown as well.
Oh.
Okay. Anything, Ms. Davis? So, question what has just been said? Okay, we're going to move on to Ms. Wedderburn for land use.
Good evening, everyone. I almost feel as if land use is not the most exciting committee on the block anymore because we have robust discussions all the time. Our last meeting really focused on us responding to the city of Yes. So we had an extensive conversation regarding that. We did not have any matters to be considered specifically for land use and such. However, one interesting thing did arise. We did review in our previous month, so that would be May, an application for a building that was one of the things that they were doing was putting solar panels on the roof that were visible from a thoroughfare. And Mr. Vicconi attended the LPC meeting and was informed that the LPC had some objections. So we're going to be navigating murky waters in the future as everything is going to be a case-by-case consideration. So we'll be learning as the community is learning. I invite you to come to our meetings. Our meetings are on the first Tuesday of the month. Over the summer, yes, I do belong to 2 committees that meet over the summer. I anticipate that we will have a meeting, time, place, date to be determined. So if I don't see you then I certainly look forward to seeing you in September. Be well all.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All
Hello,
right,
Ralph Point
veterans?
here. Can you hear me?
Sir, we
Hello,
are in the
yes.
middle of we're in the middle of our community reports. I'll get back to you at the end. Thank you for
All
your
right.
patience. Thank you. Last report, veterans, Najani Granville.
Good evening. I just wanted to let you all know that each and every time we meet, we turn up some new things that we need to address for our veterans. And one of the things that one of our members told us about is the fact that people have joined this military for this country. And if they haven't had a chance to put their citizenship in order because they were young and couldn't do it themselves, once they get into the armed forces, they're not getting any assistance with obtaining their citizenship. And this means that a lot of times if they have children that have been born on military bases for this country, those children are not considered American citizens. That to me is a huge problem. And that means that the mother that this has happened to is one of our committee members. And she is in favor of letting all Caribbean parents know that this is something that they need to look out for when their child says, we want to join the military, because it's not the free ride that people think it is. And one of the things that we also have to be concerned about is the fact that when these people do retire from the military, they're not given the information that they need to actually transition into civilian life. So at this point, her son got out of the service in November, and he's still trying to find his way as far as his benefits and things are concerned. I personally think that it is a horrible way to treat somebody who has given his life to this country. So we ask that if you know someone that's a veteran, if you're a veteran yourself, please come out to the meetings because we need your input and we need to be able to formulate these problems and tell these stories so that we can get some attention from our elected officials so that this thing does not continue on into another generation. Thank you.
Also, can you please let people know when you meet?
But we usually meet the third Tuesday, but for some reason, this particular month, I didn't see us on the schedule. So I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it was the way that the month came in. But we welcome your input and we welcome your presence and whatever dialogue you might happen to have, because it's very important.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, you forgot the Parks Committee.
Yes, the Parks Committee. My apologies, Ms. Andrews. So sorry.
All right. Good evening,
All right.
everyone. Okay, the Parks Committee met on June 6th of this week. Lincoln Terrace Park have a few things going on. On Sunday, June 11th, this Sunday, Lincoln Terrace Park Tennis Association will host their third annual Essential Workers event. Any person interested in learning how to play tennis are welcome to join them at the midsection of the tennis courts between the hours of 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The summer program has started for the adults and juniors. Applications are still open for anyone who wants to join. You go to Lincoln Terrace Tennis Association website and you can download the application and reach out to the number that's on that page. The Broward Park on Saturday, June 10th, at the Shirley Chisholm Circle, the Friends of Broward Park are hosting a silent disco from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. They will loan headphones to the first 100 people. You must have valid ID. Any questions, you can call 646-580-8229. On Monday, June 19th, the Friends of Broward Park are celebrating Juneteenth from the June 19th from the hours of 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Some of the participants are the community choir will be there, jazz performance, hip hop dance, bookmobile, a food truck for purchase of food, and free produce distribution. Okay, the storytelling at Broward Park has started. It's going to be every Wednesday, and it will be from 10:30 to 12:30 p.m. July the 20th, there will be the Broward Park Library will install a story wall on the Park Place and Brooklyn Avenue side on the gate, on the fence, leading towards the Children's Museum. The book named Hello will be framed along the fence. August 20th, Crown Heights festivals from 12 o'clock to 5 p.m. And we just hope that everyone have a great summer. And our next meeting will be the first the first Tuesday in September. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and my apologies again for the overlook. Okay, right now we're going to go to our elected officials, and I'm going to ask that Mr. Ross, on behalf of Congresswoman Clark, please, if you would.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, I want to wish, I don't know, I want to make sure that I get it right, that all the Father's Day, make sure that everyone had a great Father's Day that will be coming up soon, I believe soon. Want to wish everyone that well. I also want to say thank you, Community Board 18, for one of the Community Board 8, one of the most successful listening event that we have had thus far. You broke the record. The place was packed out. I want to thank Ms. George, Ms. Witherspoon for your assistance in getting this thing done. Let's give a hand of applause to everybody in 18. Y'all showed out and you showed up. So we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about economics and green energy. We had a green energy roundtable event a few weeks ago, and it was phenomenal. I hear people talking about green energy. I hear people talking about green economy and green solar panels. We have a tool from the federal government called the Inflation Reduction Act, which is something that is used to incentivize Black and Brown to enter the energy spaces. When we talk about economics, we talk about inflation, and we talk about energy. Everyone knows that the price of energy is what makes things very expensive. If that increases the inflation, then we will not be able to afford anything. So what the president has done is come up with a plan called the Inflation Reduction Act. I'm going to drop everything in the chat so that all who want to see can see. And it will show you how there's a workbook on how to apply these benefits. There are tax incentives for small business. There's tax incentives for Black families or minority families. There is information from the IRS on how this applies to you on a granular level. There's even an economic there's actually a calculator to show how you can actually save money from that standpoint. I'm gonna move real quick. So I don't know if everyone actually seen this, just came out on Congresswoman's webpage. Everyone knows that we had the Y24 community project funding disclosure. We now announced the 15 finalists that actually made the cut. And congratulations to, I'm going to put it in the chat, the 77 precinct. Your information has now been submitted for omnibus consideration for $185,000 for the 77 precinct. So let's give a hand up for the 77 precinct. According to their application, they are here for an area of funding that would use to alleviate to crime, providing children from the ages of 10 to 16, supportive and positive development in their skills, building relationships and learning important life lessons. They're not the only one that actually won that information. I wouldn't say won anything because nothing has been dispersed yet. It's being under consideration. There are a few more that I'm putting in the chat room. The other one that came through was NHS. People talking about affordable housing, but is housing that is affordable. NHS won $3 million. Well, I would say $3 million. They're being considered for that, a condominium conversion program. Also, $3 million went to campaign against hunger. That is being considered. And also $449,000 is being considered for Brooklyn Emerge. To move real quick, we will be doing the listening tour again. Those who have not been able to make the listening tour on CB8, you are welcome to come out to the CB18. That's going to happen at PS 251, 1037 East 54th Street. It's going to be on a Friday, June 16th. We're going to have another one. We're going to be collaborating with NHS Neighborhood Housing Services in Brooklyn and Flatbush this Saturday, June 10th, and it's going to be a housing fair. For those who are interested in getting information about affordable housing, you can come out to that event. We're also going to be doing another CB17 congressional listening tour, which will be Wednesday, June 28th, 6 to 8 p.m. And our final one, which is a little bit much closer, will be CB9. We're going to be connecting with CB9, Community Board 9, at the Major Owens Recreation Center, 2900 Bedford Avenue on Thursday, June 29th. If you check us on, if you fill out the forms that we gave out with all of the surveys, if you put your information in there, we will get that information and put you on our mailing list. Again, CB8, you showed out and showed up. Thank you so much, and the best is yet to come.
Thank you so much for that report, Mr. Ross. We appreciate you. Next up, Kristen, are you still in the house? Kristen Rouse, representing Congressman Dan Goldman. Ms. Rouse? Okay, so we're gonna move on to Ms. Foote from the Borough President's Office.
Hi there. How are you?
Hello.
Very
good, thank you.
After I mention everything, I'll just put it in the chat. Basically, I just wanted to mention the Borough President released a statement. This is back in May, calling on the real estate communities, suburbs, and the Biden administration to act in solving the migrant crisis in the wake of the weakening right to shelter here in New York City. I will put the link in the chat so you could read and see for yourself what he said exactly. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Somebody say something?
Oh, Ms. Rouse, I'm going to ask you to speak after Ms. Foot is finished, right after her. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
So that is in terms of his position on the situation of the migrant issue. There is an event coming up. The Caribbean Heritage event will be on a Saturday, June 24th at Borough Hall. It'll be from 12 to 6 p.m., 12 in the afternoon p.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, June 24th. And we have a new website. Instead of -USA, it's www.brooklynbp.nyc.gov. I will put everything in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
happy summer to everyone.
Thank you. The same to you, Ms. Rouse.
Yes, thank you. So just to be very brief, there just to address the issue about service members, folks serving in the military and not able to access their citizenship. If you reside in New York's 10th congressional district, please reach out to us. We would be glad to connect folks with the resources that are available. I dropped a link in the chat also with any veterans who have questions about or want to access their VA benefits or healthcare. Please feel free to contact us as well. And even if you're not a constituent of New York's 10th congressional district, you're welcome to subscribe to our weekly newsletter. I've mentioned it before, but we really put a lot of work each week to include a lot of not just what the congressman is doing week to week, but also a lot of relevant information for constituents to include veterans benefits information, information about 9/11 responders, federal grants that come available, and a lot of different information that pertains to people even outside of the 10th congressional district. Also, just to name a few items that the congressman has been working on. Congressman Goldman, just this week, he was part of calling for designating temporary protected status for migrants coming to America from Venezuela, El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Honduras to help them obtain work authorizations and to protect them from deportation. He just this week co-founded the Congressional Renters Caucus to fight for laws that uplift renters, not just here in New York, but across the nation. He highlighted the pressing need to pass gun safety legislation. He's vice chair of the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force, and he is also a member of the Homeland Security Committee. He just this week co-sponsored the Clean Slate Act to seal low-level nonviolent records for formerly incarcerated people. And he also fought to mandate necessary safety standards to protect healthcare workers and social services workers like social workers. So again, we welcome you to sign up for Congressman Goldman's weekly newsletter that features a lot of the work that he's doing in DC, as well as for the district and a lot of other good information too. Thank you all so much for your work and your engagement. Again, you can reach us at goldman.house.gov. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Rouse. Up next is Ana Luis Garcia, representing Councilwoman Hudson.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm off camera because my parents are having dinner directly behind me and they would prefer to have their privacy, even though they're joining Community for 8. But happy Caribbean Heritage Month, happy Pride Month, happy early Father's Day, and happy early Juneteenth. Just wanted to do a couple things. Earlier this week, the council member, she is co-chair of the LGBTQI+ caucus, revealed the Marsha and Sylvia plan. It's in honor of the trailblazing leadership of Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. The LGBTQI+ is proud to announce the plan, the first comprehensive policy agenda by and for a city's LGBTQIA+ community to legislate and budget a queer liberation. I can submit the link for more of that. And another quick legislative, today it was announced with colleagues, they introduced the Juneteenth legislative package, a set of bills aimed at delivering tangible remedies to centuries worth of integrated system inequalities. And this is the start of a process for our communities deeply deserve, one that demands accountability, restitution, and resolve. So those are two quick legislative packages I would like to introduce. And on a more, on just fun side, what I'd like to invite everybody to two events next Saturday. It's not in the district, but on June 17th, we're having our older adult resource fair, Saturday, June 17th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. At PS 270, the DeKalb School, which is 241 Emerson Place. It's a chance to connect with city agencies and community-based organizations that specialize in services dedicated to older adults. So I know it's a little bit out of Community Board 8, but would still love to see everyone that Saturday. Hopefully the air has cleared up a bit. And of course, on Sunday, June 18th at Fort Greene Park, we're proud to be joining again the Layout and Fort Greene Park Conservatory for a Black History and Cultural Tour of Fort Greene. I will put a lot of these items in the chat, so we could definitely, and I'll definitely send this over to the district office. I definitely missed the deadline for the newsletter. I'm shaming myself for this one. This week has been pretty challenging. But definitely we'll make sure that this is a study available and also on our social medias, and I'll put my information. Our office had been working virtually today and will be working home from virtually tomorrow, just due to the air quality. So if anything, I'll put my information in the chat. I'll put my cell phone. You can always reach me. Oh, and one last thing, really quickly. Every second Tuesday, we're at the Brooklyn Public Library at the Central Branch for constituent services hours from 4 to 8 p.m. So if you want to come by and meet me in person, or if you haven't met me before, you can come by. We can talk constituent services, open the streets, or anything in between. So feel free. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope folks have a great upcoming weekend, and please stay safe.
Thank you so much, Ms. Garcia. Up next will be Arlen Gillen. I'm so sorry to mispronounce. I feel like I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm so sorry. Representing Council Member OC Che-Yosei. I'm sorry.
It's been a long evening.
Yeah.
Okay. Arlene Gillen.
Thank you for your grace and mercy.
No worries. So Arlene Gillen, Councilmember Che-Yosei's office. I'm going to be really, really quick. Everything should be in the newsletter, so you can go there. But we are having a couple of events, well, more than a couple of events this month. But to highlight one particular is next Saturday, we're having the second of our rolling movies at Herbert Von King Park. This is a Juneteenth celebration. We're actually showing the Max Roach documentary. Many of you might know, beloved drummer who passed many years ago, resident of Bedford-Stuyvesant. So we are honored to actually have Raoul Roach's son come to introduce the movie along with the director. The movie starts at sundown, but events start at 6 p.m. There will be food. There will be music. We're honored to have a trio from the Lincoln Center Jazz play at 7 p.m. It's going to be a beautiful day. So we are welcoming everyone to come and celebrate Max Roach, celebrate pre-Juneteenth on next Saturday, the 17th at Herbert Von King Park. Second item, the following weekend, June 24th, you can have an opportunity to have an intimate conversation with the council member. It will be at Somewhere Good on Tompkins. The exact address, one second. The exact address is 320 Tompkins Avenue from 1 to 3 p.m. June 24th. It's an intimate conversation with the council member. Anything that you might want to bring up to him, come by. We don't have a scheduled topics list, so it really is just come and have a one-on-one, not one-on-one, but a group conversation with the council member. Everything else should be in the newsletter. Our phone number, 919-0740. I'll put that in the chat. There's a lot of office activities that are happening. You guys are free to call us. Again, thank you. Happy pre-Father's Day. Happy Pride Month. Happy pre-Juneteenth. I hope everyone has a wonderful summer. And I really hope to see you all next Saturday. It's going to be a wonderful event. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Next up is Mr. Rothblatt for Assemblyman Cunningham.
All right. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay,
Very
great.
well, yes.
Great. So we're just coming up. First of all, congratulations, Mr. Staten. Great, an amazing amount of work. It's really wonderful to see people being recognized for their hard work. Everyone here, if you're here this far, everybody here deserves a round of applause for their commitment. Right now, we have been very busy with legislation. The assembly term is about to end. So I'm going to put in the chat some of our top priorities. Assemblymember Cunningham has been very busy, introduced 75 bills in the assembly. We got tweeted by Mark Ruffalo a few hours ago because we're doing something to promote better voting, paper ballots. So I'm going to put in the chat some of our legislative stuff because it's a ton of stuff and a lot of it is really important. Hold on a second. Helping eligible customers pay for their utility bills. The Viva Voting Act, Scramble Sidewalks is another important one. Melanie's Law is a very meaningful bill for a lot of people. There's this woman, Melanie, who wasn't protected with from a domestic violence threat, and because she was. So it extends the order of protection to the full families. So there's a ton of stuff there. May seem like a lot, but it's because there's a lot going on. One thing that I'm personally happy about is this a resolution for. In fact, I put too much in the chat here for the Pinkster. So. Pinkster was a celebration of African Americans during the period of slavery. We had, more than 200 years of slavery in New York State, and there were some traditions that were amazing and deserve to be celebrated. So I just threw a bunch of stuff in the chat, but like I said, it's all important. As far as events go, we are doing our Women of Distinction event in Community Board 8 on June 15th. It's going to be limited space, so and mostly for the people who are connected to the awardees, but I will include my chat information regarding that if you are urgently want to attend that. So that's June 15th at the Children's Museum. June 17th is our Juneteenth event. It's unfortunately not going to be in Community Board 8, but I'm repeated this before and I want to repeat it again. We're also going to be collaborating with the Lefferts Historic House, which is now doing some very interesting things to engage the community and to, again, celebrate the enslaved Africans who helped build this borough and built that house specifically. And so those were the main things. I know there's been a long meeting, but please stay in touch and we will definitely be very active over the summer. And like always, we welcome people to use our office, to call our office for any reason. We really want to be here for the community. I'm around all the time. I hope to hear from everyone. And again, thanks for everyone's hard work.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rothblatt. From the Office of Council Member Darlene Mealy, are you present? The office of Darlene Mealy, are you present? Okay, we're going to move to District Leader, Sarana Purcell. Welcome.
Can you hear me? Hi, good evening, everyone. It's been
Good
a
evening.
long time since I've been on this board meeting. So I just want to congratulate the re-elected executive committee as well as the new executive committee members and all the new board members that are appointed this year. Just a quick reminder that this year is an election year. It's a small election, but it's very important, like all elections are. And just to let you guys know, June 12th is when the absentee ballot deadline. June 12th is also the voter registration deadline. And then we'll have early voting from June the 17th to the 25th. For the 43rd Assembly District, we're going to be at St. John's Rec Center, the Bedford Union Armory, the Brooklyn Museum, and SUNY Downstate. I'd like to encourage everyone to actually visit vote.nyc. The reason why is that this year, I don't want anyone to be alarmed, but I've been getting a lot of calls in regards to the limited number of candidates on the ballot. So just to explain, this year, if you're going to vote, please look at your ballot ahead of time. If you do not see council candidates on the ballot, please do not get disturbed. They're running uncontested. If you don't see a judicial candidate that you may have signed a petition for, do not get alarmed. They're uncontested, and you'll see all those people on the ballot in November. So for June, you may only see one judicial candidate race, and if you live in certain parts of the district, you may see one council race. So just be mindful of that. So if any seniors reach out to you and they don't have access to go online, please ask them to also call the Board of Elections at 866-VOTE-NYC for our seniors. And just on another note, primary date is June 27th, and the polls will be open from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And there's two more items that I want to mention, and maybe another officer will mention it. Next week, Friday, there's a hiring hall at Medgar Evers College. It's a government hiring hall. And I want to encourage everyone, if you know anyone who's looking for a job, encourage them to attend the hiring hall because it's different from a job fair. The hiring hall, which is conducted, hosted by a number of our Central Brooklyn elected officials, the mayor office and DCAS, they're doing on-the-job interviews on the spots and making offers if someone meets the qualifications for the positions. So that's occurring, and people are walking away with offer letters on the spot. So it'll be Friday from about 10 to 3, Medgar Evers College at 231 Crown Street. There was one in Queens this weekend. It was canceled, but I'll make sure I try to share the information for everyone to kind of sign up when it's, I guess, off the line. And then I believe that is it. And then once again, does anyone know if there's no one here from another office in regards to, I hope everyone remains safe in regards to the conditions with the weather. And the firehouses, 2 in Brooklyn are giving out N95 masks. It's kind of far, but 172 Tillery Street and 855 Howard Street are 2 sites that are giving out the N95 masks while we are dealing with the air quality at this time. So I hope to see you guys over the summer in the streets. And I look forward to seeing you guys in September when you resume meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, District Leader Purcell. We have Karen Chambers from the Brooklyn DA office. Ms. Chambers? Okay. I see a few hands up. I've noticed a few hands. Are these questions for our officials and reps? I'm sorry?
Yes, for government agency.
Okay, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yes, my hand is up for, I'm a representative for a government agency.
Okay, before you speak, I just want to make sure you have Mr. Sklar. Are you here to give new information, or did you have questions for our reps?
Hey, new information.
Okay, hold one moment. Miss Young, your hand is up. Did you want to?
Sorry,
did you have a question for
the public advocate's office, though?
elected
So I'm just going to
officials?
give some
Oh, I
updates.
just wanted to share some information, so I'll just wait until you call on me if you need to.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Okay, so so I want to get to I'm sorry, Ms. Scantlebury.
then Mr. Sklar, and then we will go to Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Hello. I'm sorry.
Go right ahead, Ms. Scantlebury. Thank you.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. Hope everyone's staying safe. My name is Venus. I'm the Brooklyn Outreach Coordinator for the New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board. We are an independent agency that investigates, mediates, and sometimes administratively prosecute police misconduct of members of the NYPD. Just have a couple of brief announcements. In March, the CCRB appeared before City Council on various occasions. Just to name a few, our interim chair, Arva Rice, provided testimony relating to the agency's budgetary needs. Chair Rice stressed the point that increases to the agency's budget will ensure that the agency can maintain a quality response to police misconduct complaints and enhance ability to close cases at faster rates. Later in the month, our executive director testified in favor of bill number intro 0938-2023, which is sponsored by Speaker Adams. If passed, will grant the agency direct access to NYPD body-worn camera footage. In addition to Resolution 541, which calls on New York legislators to give CCRB access to sealed records. Consequently, there are two bills that are currently within the state legislature that refers to our agency being exempt from sealing statutes, which are bill numbers 8370, sponsored by Assemblymember Cruz, and bill numbers S06267, sponsored by Senator Bailey. Lastly, the CCRB released our 2022 annual report. This comprehensive report covers the CCRB's activity throughout the year, including information on complaint activity, investigations, disciplinary process, outreach and intergovernmental affairs, and agency highlights. So I can put that in the chat. One last thing, we were at Restoration Plaza for our Brooklyn board meeting, May 10th, which was a really great turnout. A lot of community members all over Brooklyn expressed their comments and concerns about the agency. And I was also at the Crown Heights job fair, so that was really fun. It was great to interact with community members from Community Board 8, and our recruiter is in the process of looking over those candidates that I made connections with, so it was a great turnout. And lastly, happy Juneteenth, happy Caribbean Heritage Month, and happy pre-Father's Day. Please stay safe and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, Ms. Scantlebury. Mr. Sklar, before you jump in, I want to get to Mr. Pointer, who has waited very long, and I think he has his audio okay now. So, Mr. Pointer?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
We hear you. Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
Thank you for your patience.
Good evening, friends. I know, or good evening, neighbors. It's a long time, but I think this is a very important issue, not only for myself, but for the neighborhood, because we are definitely experiencing a new age blockbusting event. And there are people, real estate interests are working with those who pass out tickets, agents, to ethnically cleanse the neighborhood and to support real estate interest. And so the black tax continues through corrupt workers with who write tickets directed by city employees in regulating agencies. We have taken pictures for years to illustrate this situation. The situation is visibly worsening and apparent for inspection for any agency that is interested. Our organization is the Block Association, that is the Dean Street Block Association, Grant Square. We will continue with this issue until changes have been made. These are our homes, and we will not be bullied into selling our homes, and we will not tolerate those who take actions to make us uncomfortable in our homes and communities. And what I'm talking about when I say new age blockbusting, there are many here who are around when they've been the history of blockbusting in New York in the 60s was very extensive. And so we see it happening again. with different tactics. That is to get people to move, that will support tearing down buildings and putting up high rises. And so it is also involved in ethnic cleansing, and people have to be aware that even though it is legal, it is not right. And this situation, as I say, we've been taking pictures for years, and I know it may be a boring subject to people, but the subject of living in a community and being able to stay there without harassment by city agencies is extremely important. And so we're going to be bringing this issue before various agencies. We were here visiting Ms. Combo and visiting with her agents, and nothing has been done. And so we will build an organization, and for anybody in block associations, etc., who are interested in this subject, please contact us at the Dean Street Grant Square Block Association.
Specifically, we are also concerned with frivolous summonses. We recently restored our brownstone. We got summonses every single day, even though we followed all of the legal procedures. We're noticing in the block someone else is doing it, who's not of our hue. Their yard is 10 times filled with more debris. No summonses, no harassment. Recently, we got summonses to redo our sidewalk after the city just did our sidewalk. We've contacted several other second-generation African-American families in the area who saw this pattern. I want to thank the Representative Garcia for getting on for Councilperson Hudson, because we did report this to the area. We're asking for a meeting with you, Mrs. Weatherstone, and with
Ms. Garcia,
and with the Department of Transportation for these summonses. It's bad enough when Con Ed had an explosion 10 blocks away that affected our block. We were forced to repair the streets. If the state is going to abrogate all of their responsibility, that means there is no social contract. There's only a racial contract. So we're tired of all these summonses that are frivolous and irrelevant, and we're tired of all the tickets that we get for trying to uphold our household. One of the most egregious things that happened is we redid our whole block. I destroyed my garden in the front of my house because of the rats in the neighborhood. And I still got a ticket for rat droppings from neighbors on either side of my house. And you are aware of this because apparently someone in your office finally sent the Department of Sanitation to deal with the house that's right next to mine that is in such disgrace and is really a rat farm. So with this in mind, I know this is scattered. I appreciate you letting us speak at the last time, but there has been a pattern of ethnically cleansing second and third generation African-American families in this community, and the statistics speak for themselves. So it stops with us. We're not going anywhere. We're going to fight on any level that we can, and we appreciate the Ms. Garcia for agreeing to have another follow-up meeting with our organization and other members of the community. And thank you for being so patient with us.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I just want to make sure, do you have our district office number? I want to make sure that you have that. And
yes, we did call, and we were not satisfied with the response that we got.
Okay.
I don't mind repairing my block, but there are blocks in Park Slope where you can't walk without tripping because the sidewalk is so broken up. And to come to us and tell us that we have to redo our block after you did it 2 years ago with National Grid is absurd. That's harassment. That's the black tax.
Okay,
you know it, and I know it.
I got you. I appreciate it. I don't want you to get any more upset. I hear you very passionately, and I'm concerned about your concerns. Are you sure if the district office has your number?
Well, they called us back.
Okay.
And as I said, the reason I know you got our message is because the very next day after I complained about the differences in the way different households are treated on this block, the house next door finally had to move a mattress that was a house for rats, which we've been reporting against for an entire year.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We will be in touch. I will be part of the conversation, but I do have to move on. Thank you for your
I know
patience.
you do.
I'm glad you
And
hung
I
in
thank
here.
all of our neighbors for waiting for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Sklar from the Public Advocate. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Great to be with
It's
you.
actually good night.
That's right. That's right. Well, this is truly one of the most resilient community boards. It's a pleasure to see, 60 plus folks still on at this time. So I'll be very brief. I just want to first say our office had a great time at the job fair hosted by this community board. We had a ton of folks look into our jobs, and I know we're excited to interview local residents from this community board. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Staten. I know that we are not able to meet in person today, but the public advocate did ask me to present this acknowledgement to him. So I'm looking forward to presenting that at the next meeting or the next opportunity we have to all meet in person. So just a couple quick updates from our office today. First, on the legislative side, the City Council just passed our bill, the Worst Landlord Law, which is part of the Worst Landlord Accountability Act. And that's going to help prevent fraudulent repairs by bad landlords and increase accountability. It's a package that's going to help tenants get the repairs they need, make sure the worst landlords pay their fair share for negligence and deception, and also just show that there are consequences for conduct that puts landlords on this watch list. And so we hope this will have a meaningful difference, make a meaningful difference for tenants in this community board and around the city. Number two, we recently had an advocacy day in DC where we met with our federal congressional delegation. We all are aware of the crisis that's been caused by the influx of asylum seekers into this city, and we know that we need money and support from the federal and state government. We're super pleased to see that our federal legislature and our delegation stepped up and secured $104 million in FEMA aid for this city. After our visit, and we had a great time meeting with them and talking about the issues that are most important to New Yorkers and Brooklynites. Finally, I'll just reiterate that we too have a constituent service team that can help you with a host of issues or problems with the city government. And you can also always tune into News 12 Brooklyn to watch our monthly segment called Ask the Advocate, which is every third Monday of the month from 7 to 8. And the public advocate, Jamani Williams, will answer questions live on air. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Next will be Hercules Reed from the mayor's office.
Hello and good night to all. Thank you for having me. And again, cheers to this community board for its tireless work in the community. We definitely applaud you, to all the members, to the executive board, district manager, chair. Thank you again for having me. Just real quickly, two things that I really want to highlight. One of them being we, the community affairs unit, has been tasked with creating neighborhood support teams. And this is our goal of addressing quality of life issues. We understand that often there's an issue around which agency is supposed to address which concern, and it often leads to a delay. So the goal is we have a link that we're asking stakeholders in the community to fill out, from unsightly graffiti to illegal vending, dangerous street crossings, things that are what you consider your quality of life concerns. I've heard some tonight, having a negative impact on your lives. We want you to input those areas, those strips, where they're located, so that we can again coordinate with the different city agencies and build out teams to take a comprehensive look at these issues and to address them. So I'm dropping that information right now in the chat with the link. I want to make sure that Community Board 8 and the neighborhood areas in there, you guys are on the map. So the deadline to submit is June 15. So just again, urging everyone that has areas that they want to address to put that in the request form. Secondly, thank you, Sarana, for bringing up the conversation around the air quality update. The latest that we have from our office is that what we saw yesterday has pushed out of the city for the most part, and there has been a gradual improvement throughout the day. We may still see some, bad air quality, however, as things settle, but most of it shows that it's pushing out past the city. And over the next couple of days, conditions should start to improve. We are still advising folks to avoid outdoor gatherings and events if possible. We do recommend that if you can, to move your events indoors or postpone them if possible for the time being. Because outside, as you know, people who have heart or breathing problems, children, older adults, are very sensitive to the air quality conditions that we have been experiencing and should avoid strenuous activities outside. If you do go outside, we are asking that you wear N95, K95 mask. If you can, keep your windows closed. If you have air conditioners, please make sure you clean your filters and try not to have them running for too long periods of time. Again, we do advise people to stay inside as much as possible and continue to take precautions. Savannah did drop in Brooklyn the 2 locations where you can go receive some masks. It is 2 per person, to my knowledge. One of them, again, is the FDNY, Division 11 on 172 Tillery Street and 885 Howard Street. But there is an additional one. Brownsville Neighborhood Health Action Center is also a location that has masks, and that's 259 Bristol Street. So that's a little bit closer to our residents in CBA. And if any other locations are open, I will be sure to send it on over. Thank you for your time and have a blessed night.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Ms. Pritchard, how are you? So good to see you. So good to see you.
I'm
Thank you for
great.
your patience.
Yes. Well,
This
hello.
is hello. This is Ms. Pritchard from the Brooklyn Library. Go right ahead.
So I'll be very short, and good night, everyone. I'm the branch manager of the Broward Park branch, where we are located at 155 New York Avenue, and I'm pleased to announce that we will be opening our new location to the public on Thursday, July 20th, after a very long closure and relocation from the old branch on St. Mark's Avenue to now the new location inside of the Brooklyn Children's Museum. We're happy, we're excited. The staffers in the building, we're shelving all brand new books for our collection, and we can't wait for to open. Thank you very much.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that news. Okay. I know we had a couple of hands. We sort of did our public comments already. So I know that there are a couple. Ms. Young had her hand up, and I see that Sharice does. Ms. Young?
Very briefly, I thank Ms. Andrews for mentioning the silent disco, which is going to be this Saturday. Also wanted to mention the Unity Market on Juneteenth. That's going to be at the top of the Brooklyn Children's Museum. It's free, it's family friendly. There's going to be face painting and cotton candy and popcorn and vendors there from the North Nostrand Avenue. And the first 50 people who register will get a $20 voucher. No, $20 fake money to be spent at the different vendors that will be participating. So you can leave the Juneteenth event in the park and walk right over to the Brooklyn Children's Museum. And lastly, save the date. August 27th is going to be the Crown Heights North Association rooftop event, but more to come on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharice. And then Mr. Atkins. Sharice?
Thank you. Actually, Ms. Young took the words right out of my mouth. So thank you for that. I'm the vice president of the North Nostrand Avenue Merchant Association, and we just wanted to invite everybody out to the Unity Marketplace on June the 19th. So please do enjoy the event in the park and then come on over to the rooftop.
Well, thank you. We like the reinforcement. Okay, next would be Mr. Atkins, Jason Atkins.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. I'm trying to figure out how to keep this as tight as possible. I know that there's been some degree of anger expressed on the call over like just street closures with Underhill and stuff like that.
I want to be
there's-
fair to you, Mr. Atkins. Let me just interrupt you for a moment. There are a lot of things that have been said and repeated. It is almost 10 o'clock, and I don't want to.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
I'll keep this as brief as I can.
2 minutes, please. Thank you. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What I was trying to at least just share and start the conversation about was the street closures of Eastern Parkway during rush hour between like Nostrand Avenue and Albany. It's happened several times over the past like 8 months that Eastern Parkway has been closed down during rush hour, and it's led to absolute chaos and gridlock from as far north as Green Avenue and as far south as Church Avenue, and it comes with no notification. It just happens. I was in the car with my 6-year-old and my 2-year-old for close to an hour and a half for a ride that normally takes 10 minutes. And I still parked about 10 blocks away from my house. My neighbors were livid about it. I'm on the county committee, and so I talked to all my neighbors, and it happens all the time, or it happens often. And it seems appalling to me that anyone would be granted a permit to have a concert on Eastern Parkway, the primary artery, the primary east-west artery in Brooklyn, during rush hour. It seems completely unnecessary, and it seems like it shows a complete lack of regard for all of the people that live in CB8. It just seems like it's a very inconsiderate thing to do, and I don't understand how permits can be granted for such a thing when they could be granted for concerts to be held in Broward Park or something like that. That's all I want to say.
Okay, let me just ask you, Mr. Atkins, who is closing the street?
The New York City Police Department closes the street for the Chabad Lubavitch community. They have like several events on Eastern Parkway in Kingston, at 770 Eastern Parkway, at the large synagogue. And the street closures have happened at a minimum 4 times from October 2022 up until maybe 4 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay, I because you didn't mention it, because permits have to be required, so it has to be a request. So that is something that you probably have to speak directly to the police department. That's not something that we would deal with here. So I want you to be able to direct your concern where it needs to go, so you can hopefully get a resolve or an answer, an explanation quickly. Okay.
Yeah, I went to the police department and I did not get a response. I was told to try things with the safety committee. So I will do that. But it's really frustrating.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I want to get through this. Have you been in touch with the district office? And I'm asking you so you can get information as to when that committee meets and any other information that you might need. Okay.
Okay, I'll reach out to the district office.
Please, thank you. Okay, next up I see Brian Saunders.
Sure, but I see the Office of Counsel Mealy on. You want to let them go first?
Just go ahead, Mrs. Saunders.
Hey, So quick public announcement. I just want to let everybody know that on May 31st, we did with Crown Heights North Association, we did a deed and theft town hall. It was a lot of information. We plan on doing a follow-up, so look out for the flyers and information on that. There's a lot of things going on. There's a bill right now being put on the floor. So just keep in contact. Look out for information from the community board's office as well. And also on June 12th, this Monday, is the 77 Precinct Community Council meeting, going to be held at 7 p.m. at the German School at 760 Sterling Place between Rogers and Bedford. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Ms. Lipkin, I did call for the representative for Ms. Neely, and I know that you had dropped some information in the chat. Did you still want to say something?
Yes, but thank you so much. I'm not here representing, I work with Connect IDCC. I appreciate that. I work with Connect. I've been there for over a year now. So if I may, I want to make a really quick announcement. It's been an amazing meeting tonight. We are having our annual Shower in the City event. Again, it was very successful. We helped a lot of underserved, low-income people as well as homeless. So it's taking place on August 9th, Wednesday, from 11 to 4. We are really looking forward. We're going to have a lot of city agencies, not-for-profits, giving away clothing, takeaway food, hot food will be served. And if anyone's interested to donate clothing or volunteer, I left my information in the chat. So we're really excited about this event. I just want to wish everybody a healthy, happy, wonderful summer.
Thank you very much. I just want to say to you, Ms. Lipkin, if you're not representing the office of Ms. Neely, council person,
I'm so sorry.
Please, yeah, because that's what we see.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Please correct that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Very much. You have a great night as well.
Thank you.
So this is the longest meeting that we've had. And we don't want to see the meeting this long again. So we try our best to really make it concise. Do we have any other old business or new business before we close out? Okay, everyone seems to be quiet. Thank you so much for your patience. This was almost 4 hours. Thank you for sticking in and absorbing and sharing. I want to wish you guys an amazing and safe summer. Happy Father's Day, happy Juneteenth, happy 4th of July, and happy Labor Day if we don't see each other before. So thank you and have a blessed summer. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gail Mohammed. I haven't forgotten you either.